Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So we're going to be recording from now on. Carrick has a history of taking care of AV issues. So we'll begin once again recording these sessions, which is going to be great. Welcome everybody. Welcome everyone who's listening in the far future, beyond the dark days of 2020. Great to have you all along. Okay, so let's examine the story of this kobold, a dragon seeker. But we will begin, as we often do, not with the first steps of this character, but rather going even further back. Tell us about who your people were, where they came from, what impact your kobold tribe has had upon the world.
I'd say it's probably not much because I mean kobolds are like universally hated. But like you're saying, the elves are like pulling out of the world, so maybe they're doing more raids recently with the lack of stability. Taking advantage of the chaos.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so this is the world that you've been born into, probably the Elven Forest of Cormanthor by the sound of it. One of the largest forests in the world, one of the most magical as well. Home to the most famous ruin, or at least one of them, Mithranor, whose treasure troves are said to be the greatest anywhere in the realms. So tell us what life was like for you as a young kobold. What did you engage in? What was important to you? What was your home like?
I can imagine it being, pretty miserable, being like in a kobold tribe, like not much food, like quite a bit of disease.
Yeah. Did you live underneath the ground or in the treetops or what?
I think I'm going to make a green kobold this time, so I'm going to go in the treetops, like they lived like in little tree huts.
Excellent. There's a lot of green dragons in Cormanthor. The elves never really they had a very uneasy relationship with them. They were certainly never allies or friends, and yet the elves invited the dragons to take over Cormanthor when they left. They see green dragons as a very legitimate species and also an excellent guardian. So when they abandoned Mithranor 500 or 600 years ago, and when they abandoned Cormanthor, which is 20 years ago, in both instances, they formally approached their ancestral enemies, the lawful evil green dragons, compared to the chaotic good elves, and said, "Look, there are no better, more appropriate, and more natural guard beasts than you. So why don't you go and occupy the Elven Barrows? The treasure will effectively be yours. It still belongs to us in spirit, but it will become part of your hoard." And naturally, the green dragons, for the ones that didn't suspect it was a trap at least, jumped at the opportunity. Anyway, that's a lot of background, and it's not necessary. There are a lot of green dragons here in Cormanthor. Was your tribe influenced by one of these green dragons?
I can't see why not, because they have the right color to be appealing to a green dragon.
Yeah, yeah, and it's one more source of taxation. So why say no to tribute, right?
And I suppose it's also prestige for the tribe, saying we have a dragon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, cool. So now let's move on to your character itself. Um, Imagine that you're a first level kobold adventurer. How did your career begin?
He got visited in his dreams by a man bearing 7 canaries, telling him he had a bond with a dragon, and he needed to find this dragon, or they'd both die.
Okay.
So he set out into
And
the world.
all right. And what did that involve? Traveling through the forest, or beyond it, or underneath it? What was involved
To
there?
begin with, just this. I mean, he'd hoped it was in a surrounding area, but he just had to keep going further and further to try to find this dragon. And like we said earlier, eventually he tried to go into the Underdark, but very quickly got captured.
Yeah. All right, it's at this point that we'll talk about the Silence of Loth to give you some background to the Underdark and why it's such a tumultuous place at the moment. They call the area beneath the Dales the Deep Wastes, which is a really ironic name because it's one of the most fertile places in the Underdark anywhere. There are fungal jungles that run rampant. There are large lakes and the river systems that feed them. And crucially, there is a city called Mayrimidra, who I'll just spell for the sake of it. Mayrimidra? I think that's it. And Mayrimidra is ancient to a fault. It's one of the oldest cities in civilization of any race. It predates Mithranor by thousands of years. It predates the ancient empire of Netheril. It's been around for about 4,000 years until now. It's recently been destroyed, ending a prestigious history that has come to a grinding halt. The reason why Mayrimidra has collapsed is because of the Silence of Loth. No one knows what the Silence of Loth is. If the Drow priestesses know, they're not telling, but it's likely that they don't know either. The Silence of Loth is the name given to the inability of clerics of the Spider Queen to contact their god. They've simply lost all touch with the divine. They can no longer cast spells. They can no longer turn or control undead. They can pray to their goddess, and it doesn't seem like she hears them because she certainly doesn't answer. The more pious, the more faithful of the Dark Elves, like the priestesses, think this is a test. Think that Loth is deliberately shunning them for reasons unknown in order to test their faith and to see that who can survive without any assistance for days or months or perhaps even years. While there are a growing number of people who think she's dead. Loth has been slain once and for all in her home of the Demon Web Pits, and that's the end of her. She's never coming back, and as a result, there are a lot of apostates who are turning away from Loth and embracing the other drow gods, such as Veyroon, who is like a god of sexual equality, since females are the dominant sex within drow society, and also a god of thieves. There are other drow gods as well. We won't mention them right now. Anyway, this has thrown the Underdark into absolute chaos because the Dark Elves, the Loth worshippers, were by far the strongest faction within there. We mentioned how they controlled a 4,000-year-old city. When the Silence of Loth came, though, slowly but surely, the rebels began to quake and to itch and to explode. They began overthrowing some of the outer holdings called Ziths, which means colony. Then they began overthrowing the city itself, Mayrimidra, and eventually just chaos absolutely erupted in the Underdark. There are currently legions and legions of undead warriors marching through the Underdark, slaying all the Loth worshippers and pretty much anyone else they could find. There are entire armies of fire giants that have risen up from the depths of the Underdark, and they are largely responsible for the utter annihilation of this ancient city. And so the Underdark is in complete disarray. No one, if it was lawless to begin with, now it's positively anarchic. So this is a situation that you've found yourself in. You might have already been there for a while, in which case you would have been imprisoned in a place called the Stockade. At the heart of the Deep Realms, the Buried Wastes, at the heart of the Buried Wastes, underneath Cormanthor here, there is a fortress. It's called the Stockade. And the Stockade sits at the brink of several Underdark passages, and is the sort of prison that you use to hold prisoners who can't be held anywhere else. People that are too important to kill, but too powerful to allow to escape, like demons, for example, or or immortals, or wizards who have simulacrums and contingency spells available. If you do kill them, they're just going to come back again. These sort of people. You're not as important as any of those, but it's likely that that's where you were. That's where you've spent a lot of time here in the stockade. So tell us about what you were doing when you were initially caught by the Dark Elf.
Well, like I said, he's trying to find. He's been told he has this bond, and the dragon he's bonded to is trapped in a different plane, and so he's trying to find how to free this dragon. So he can summon it temporarily, but like the bond through the bond, but like that's not. I think it'd be more important to have something more permanent solution to this. Because I don't think you wouldn't be too happy if you was trapped somewhere. Like, yeah, you can be here for 4 hours, but you need to kill this giant first.
Yeah. So there's a lot of portals in the Underdark. In some places, they are absolutely rife. But there's also a lot of portals in a place called the Abbey of the Sword. Beneath the Abbey of the Sword, a whole bunch of portals to different parts of the Underdark and different parts of Faerun and different planes entirely. So we're jumping a bit ahead of ourselves at the moment. But if you were to make it into the base of the Abbey of the Sword, you might find these portals that you're looking for. But we'll get back to the story. Were you still in the stockade when the silence of Loth caused so much upheaval that society began to collapse, or do you envision yourself having been freed from servitude before that?
I can imagine, like, maybe coincidence, like, left it, like, you got picked out to be, like, a mind slave, and they left before that happened, like, you got dragged out.
Yeah,
like, I was
right,
thinking he
yeah,
got,
right.
Because I was thinking, like, Matt's character, Freedom in the Forest.
Perfect. So you've been taken by the Loth worshippers to head to the surface. And it's during this process that the silence of Loth has erupted. Suddenly, the Loth worshippers are their own worst enemies. The apostates, the spies, the insurgents, the Drow are killing Drow in such incredible numbers. And endless streams of Drow seem to be rising up from the Underdark, fleeing their own homes and finding the paradise of Cormanthor very dark, lots of thick canopies, so it's not going to hurt their eyes most of the time. And in this chaos, as Drow begin turning on Drow, the Druid helps you to escape, perhaps through slaughter, perhaps through guile. How do you envision that event coming to pass?
Thinking maybe guile to begin with, but remember, go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say probably with blood, because I think what brought me there was that the lycanthropes whose territory the Drow were invading asked me for help, so they probably would not shy away from killing them.
Perfect. All right. So a mixture of clever strategy and sheer violence overwhelmed these warring Drow in their with their sectarian violence. Having slaughtered them to a T, you were able to recover some of the treasures that they'd plundered from ancient elven graves. What did you do? Or maybe rather than explaining this story, we might cut back to Matt, examine his story, and we'll answer the what happens then together. So, Matt, tell us about what's the race of your character to begin with? Matt, you're a wood elf, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. The wood elves, like you're probably about 100 years old, something like that. the Wood Elves didn't engage in the retreat. At least very few of them did. It was really the High Elves that packed up and went west. The Wood Elves were, very much settled here and didn't see the sense in abandoning their ancestral home for some spiritual journey. Are you from this region, from Cormantha, or have you come much further afield?
Yeah, I think I'm from the area. I'm not sure if I probably would have been born in a small community sort of on the outskirts of Cormanthor.
Yeah.
And then sort of when I got my calling, I ended up just moving to live in the forest alone.
Yeah. While you were growing up, did you, or even before you were born, did your tribe have extensive contact with humans? And if so, was it violent or was it cooperative?
It would have been cooperative, maybe. Yeah, probably fairly extensive. I don't think they were isolationists.
Mm. All right. You're likely somewhere on the southern side of Cormanthor then, or southern or western, because up here near Hillsfar, the humans have a kill elves on sight policy, taking the ones that they don't kill into slavery to fight in the arenas. Whereas down here in the southern sectors, we have what's called the Standing Stone. That you might see here. The
Mm-hmm.
Standing Stone is an obelisk, a big stone that marked out well over 1,000 years ago the laws of the elves that the humans had to abide by. We call it the Dales Compact these days, but it's stuff like respect nature, don't desecrate elven graves. Pretty much all of the elven basic laws were placed onto this Standing Stone in Common and in Elven and in some other language as well to point out the unquestionable terms and conditions of our relationships between the two races. Now that happened about 1,200 years ago, 1,400 years ago, and in the lifespan of elves, that's only a handful of generations. But in the lifespan of humans, that's a time in the ancient past. And so slowly but surely, the humans have been slipping away from this ideal. And in the 100 years that you've been alive, you've witnessed it yourself. It seems that every time a new king or a new chieftain replaces the old one, all the policies of yesteryear are thrown out the window. And the elves have to start all over again, teaching these infants how to walk. Did you find as a child, did you find that frustrating, or did you just accept it as the way things are?
I think I probably outwardly accepted it, but was frustrated by it inwardly, that may have been what led me to eventually just leave the village and enter the forest.
Perfect. Now, the retreat occurred only about 20 years ago, as mentioned, and you might not have been mature then, or you might have been. It's up to you to decide how old you were. But why didn't you join the retreat? Why didn't you go to the Elven Paradise when you were given the chance?
Yeah, so I said I'm about 140 years old and about 80
Oh,
years ago moved into the forest. So I
yeah.
would have already had been living there for 60 years, so I think I probably would have been very reluctant to leave and also had the skills to sort of keep myself safe and hidden so I didn't feel like I needed to leave.
Absolutely. Can completely relate to that. Did you have any special companions within the woods? Like, that's a long time, 60 years. Did you have a lover or even a small group of friends, uh, maybe among the lycanthropes or anything else?
Um, I made a number of friends. Amongst lycanthropes would be one example, and also just communing with various beasts in the forest. But for the most part, just lived alone, and every few years would sort of make a pilgrimage back to meet with the other moon druids and learn of what's been going on in the world outside of the forest.
Excellent, excellent. I assume that you must do some monster hunting from time to time, if only, as a kind of pest control. What's the most dangerous monster that you've ever brought down? Ever fight a beholder?
I would have tried if I ever came across one. I certainly would not view that as something that could be allowed to live in the forest.
Excellent. How could you possibly defeat a beholder?
Probably not alone.
No.
Either working with some werefolk or other druids as I probably didn't stumble upon it. It was probably something that a group of us sought out to destroy.
Brilliant. Brilliant. In its destruction, you learn something about the beholders. There are persistent rumors that there is a beholden nation somewhere beneath the Dagger Hills, like around about here, very, very close to Dagger Falls and between Dagger Falls and Shadowdale. Anyway, the rumors, which were more or less confirmed by this destruction of this beholder, is that there are a small conclave of beholders. Calling them a nation is an exaggeration, but what they've got going on down there is a scientific experiment. They've created a kind of what they call a Genesis pit, which is an extremely large area within the Underdark where the climate is controlled, where the environment is tailored, and they are attempting to breed new species. As I said, it's very scientific. It's like a living biology for the beholders. How do you feel about this? When you learnt about this Genesis pit, what were your thoughts on it?
That is an absolute abomination against nature and must be removed.
Excellent, excellent. So perhaps that's when you went into the Underdark.
Could be. So the way Carrick and I talked about it, in my mind, I hadn't been to the Underdark. He had been brought up as a slave and came into the forest, and that's when the sort of the lycanthropes whose territory they were invading asked for my help to kick them out.
Perfect. All right. Well, whether you went into the Underdark to find the Genesis pit or not, you never did discover it. So I guess it's something of a moot point. But yeah, there is the lycanthropes are a very religious people. They consider themselves the indigenous tribes of the local area. They've been here long before anyone called this a dale. They haven't been here as long as the elves by any stretch of the imagination, but they've been here for a long time. They have a sorcerer queen, and she's not the queen of all the lycanthropes. She's not even really a queen in a technical sense. But she is the most powerful witch among the werewolves, and thus commands a great deal of respect, particularly among the werewolves, but also among the other lycanthropes. Um, what sort of deal might you have made with the Sorcerer Queen in order to either secure their help or for them to secure your help? Like, is it entirely mutual with no real tangible benefits, or did you? She is a moon druid for the record. Did you get? Did you have to make some sort of transaction, or was it done purely out of shared self-interest?
And self-interest, I think, yeah, just out of cooperation. I mean, like I think probably early on in my time living in the forest, I stumbled upon them and maybe either helped them or they helped me, and we just sort of developed a friendship and began to rely upon each other to help defend the forest.
Perfect. All right. And so, yeah, you launched this coordinated assault, werebears and werewolves and werepanthers all coming together and emerging from the forest and hitting this drow establishment, which itself is already in free fall. The apostates, the Veyroon worshippers are already bringing down the Spider Queen worshippers. Um, and their little forest mine, which would mostly be done through panning rather than much digging, their little forest mine just collapses under the force of your assault. What might have been an event that occurred during this attack or liberation that either or both of you were involved in, like a specific battle, a specific objective, a specific event? Like, what's something that happened that was an important aspect of the greater battle?
Well, I figured Carrick probably would have stumbled upon him before the fighting actually started, and sort of liberate him, and he joins the fight to try to kill his former slavers.
Why on earth would you liberate a green-scaled kobold? Like, that doesn't seem smart.
I mean, he's pretty persuasive. So maybe it was one of those situations where I caught him, and he was like, "Give me a reason not to kill you," and it's like, "Oh, he's quite charming. I'll bring him with me."
Yeah. No worries. All right, so you triumph over the Dark Elves and you liberate the treasures taken from the elves. Suddenly you've got the oath bow and perhaps some elven chainmail, elven boots, or cloaks of elven kind. These certain blades called razor blades, which are as sharp as they sound. What happens then?
I suppose, like, cause my cat, he's trying to be worthy of being the Drake Warden, so he'd probably suggest returning the items, like, or at least the majority of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'm not really that concerned with collecting material things.
Yeah. With very few elves left in the forest, you can wander for a whole month and not come across a single elf except for the dark elves. And so instead, you turn to civilization, ironically enough, and the town of Dagger Falls. Within Dagger Falls, there is an old elf who was ancient even when Edwin was born. And where is she, Alani? So she is a collector of elven heritage, of elven cultural items. So you return the goods to her, and she, in turn, recognizes that Nubble Drakeseeker's relationship with Edwin Greenway makes him an elf friend in a very real sense. So she acknowledges that, the gods themselves acknowledge that, and as a token of their respect, undying friendship, Nubble is given this oath bow with the express permission that the gods themselves approve of him using it. Okay, so that's a relatively recent story. You've that probably happened less than 3 months ago. Relatively recent in the grand scheme of things. After that, you were brought north to the border forest, which lies just on the very edge of our map up here, north of Dagger Falls. And the border forest is the heart of Druid culture because it is on the border. the mountain druids, the desert druids, the forest, the moon. Everyone can come together. Even the Arctic druids don't have that far to travel in order to reach the border forest. And you'd already heard, Edwin, about the disappearance of the Archdruid, as well as the Hierophant of the Desert and the Hierophant of the Moon. And so you already knew that they were that they'd gone into the Anarok Desert, the massive, massive Anarok Desert, in order to inquire about a shadow in the sky, where a freshwater sea had formed underneath it. The Druids investigated and never returned. They were assumed not to have died, however, or if they did die, they'd be reincarnated, and that hasn't happened. So there's no way of contacting them. The gods themselves don't seem to know their fate, but it does seem that they at least have not died. Now, that's a bit of background information, and I've already shared with Matt the political situation of the Druids, which I need not go into too much since the other players are relatively familiar with it as well. They witnessed the Moon Druids. But the key aspect is this. The Sorcerer Queen, who is a Moon Druid, didn't want the job of Hierophant. She's busy ruling and doesn't want the responsibility of being the banner bearer, the torch bearer for an entire political faction of Druids who are experiencing one of their greatest crises of all time. The torch looked likely to pass to a halfling called Ace. Ace is a native to the border forest. She's ghost-wise, which means that she has limited telepathic abilities. But she was kidnapped by the Zentarum when she was very young, and the tortures and horrors that she endured firmly tied her to the idea of hating humans in general. She is a believer that there's nothing wrong with eating human flesh. There's nothing wrong with hunting humans for sport. There's nothing wrong with farming them, since they do all of that to animals, intelligent and or otherwise. Now, the ramifications for her victory within the Moon Druids were pretty extreme. It would legitimize all of her philosophies, meaning that the Druids would, in effect, become enemies to civilization, since no town is going to tolerate a cannibal that hunts their outlying farms in the interest of pleasure. How did you defeat her politically? And what are your own philosophies, Edwin, in regards to how Druids and civilization should treat each other?
Well, I think I had no intention of competing politically, but yeah, one night after the Druids disappeared, which I was unaware of at the time, I had this sort of unsettling dream in which I didn't hear any voices or anything. There was just this unsettling feeling of dread, and it kept repeating every night until I decided to go back and talk with the other Druids to try to find out what it meant, and I ended up arriving back on the eve of the election and told my story, and they concluded that I was brought back for the purposes of becoming the new Hierophant and to find out what happened, what befell the previous.
Perfect. He cometh in our darkest hour, and whereas Ace seems almost obsessed with human relations and getting vengeance upon them, you were more focused on the big picture, on the actual issue that the Archdruid's gone missing, and that somebody needs to do something about it. So that's good. Okay. So now that we've established that you were elected on a platform of getting the job done, why the hell haven't you? Why aren't you in Anarok right now? why are you traipsing around the Dales instead?
Oh, well, I had thought that that had happened very recently, and like
Yeah.
when I was on my way, that was when I ran into Carrick. So I was sort of picturing I'm actively on my way to try to figure it out right now.
All right, all right. So in that case, yep. So you've only just met up with Carrick even more recently. Um, so you've only just delivered the magic items to Yolani in the Dagger Falls. And Anarok is just a hop, skip, and a step away. All you got to do is go over a set of mountains, which wouldn't be a challenge to you at all. But you've been discouraged from doing so. Maybe it was a divine inspiration. Maybe the gods themselves have told you you're not ready. Maybe they've sent a vision of a particular location. But the fact of the matter is that the Dales are under threat. The Zentarum will inevitably invade. They've conquered Hillsfar very recently, and now nothing really stands in their way of invading Shadowdale or Dagger Falls. And if they should fall, then the border forest will fucking burn. With no armies to stop them, the Zentarum will just go in and log the place whole scale. They'll need to log it so that they can build their siege engines, so they can build a navy, so that they can rebuild the city that they destroyed in their own civil war. So I guess first things first, you're going to have to address the issues of the Dales before you can do what you've been elected to do and go and investigate the Anarok Desert. Now, you've heard of a group of, I use the term loosely, adventurers, a group of like a mercenary band, I suppose, of locals who have absolutely changed the political situation of the Western Dales, Shadowdale and Daggerdale, and so forth. Um, you might have heard that they were recently dispatched from those Dales to head down along the Moonsea Ride and up Mistledale because they have an objective to travel to the Abbey of the Sword, which is besieged by Dark Elves, your own enemies for both of you. It's within the Abbey of the Sword, Carrick, that Nobles has heard that there are a range of portals to other worlds. Whether or not you can use that to your advantage remains to be seen. But you have heard that these heroes are approaching Mistledale, and that's basically where our game will begin. Um, to summarize for the rest of you or who either were or weren't here last week, um, we travelled past Gundarak Hill, as you'll remember. We were marching an army of 50 or 60 soldiers, and we started a minor conflict between the folk of Gundarak Hill in order to provide this distraction for us to slip past. Um, Once entering Mistledale, we heard bells, the sort of ringing of church bells through the misty valley. And at first we figured that it might be the Zentarum pursuing us, but of course it was coming from the wrong direction. It's coming from Mistledale. And some of us have rightly concluded that the folk of Mistledale themselves saw our army approaching and thought it prudent to alert each other. So that's where we begin. It's a misty morning in Mistledale. The mist is beginning to rise. There's lots of hills in this country, so the mist is in the dells, which is where we are right now in the valleys. And the settlements tend to be on top of the hills, and each of the settlements has a series of bell towers that they use to alert the others of the approach of any danger. The bells have rung out. Our army is on red alert. They're paranoid. They're exhausted. They've just marched or ridden 100 miles in 2 days. It's pretty intense. And that's when Nubble Drakeseeker and Edwin Greenway, accompanied by 5 outriders from the town of Asherburn Ford, meet each other. And so these outriders lean over to Edwin, since they don't really speak to Nubble, and they say, well, there they are, Sir Druid. That's them, all right. I'd recognize them from 10 miles away. That's them, all right. The ones that have been stirring up the Zentarum and what killed all the monsters out there in the Dales. That's them, all right. I'm sure of it.
All right. Well, shall we introduce ourselves?
Oh, whatever you say, like Sir Druid. When Nubble tries to speak, and they, just give him a sideward glance and continue addressing the Druid instead.
Give him that winning smile.
Oh.
That's right. So, you guys with the army, there is a small warband up on the hills. They are flying the flag of Mistledale, but there's so few of them that we literally outnumber them 10 to 1. What do we do?
Oh, they have the flag of Mistledale out?
They
like
probably they unfurl it now and fly it in the sky.
Oh.
Didn't we just enter Mistledale?
It's a region, not a town.
Yeah, that's right. It's a region, not a town. Yeah.
Hey, we're just I guess we're here for your drow problem.
Oh, well, yeah. We came looking for you because we heard you're exactly the kind of people that solve those kinds of problems.
Oh, yeah, we're literally getting paid for it.
So you're like pest control?
If you count drow as... Yes.
Well, my name is Edwin. I'm a druid, and personally, I feel that the drow need to get out of my forest.
Ooh, and I'm Nubble. Like, drow are not nice, and I have a dragon, so I can help you.
Oh God, what is that? And does it talk?
I like look over my shoulder as if what are you talking about? I don't see it.
The fucking kobold talks.
I probably speak more languages than you, because I'm cool.
He absolutely only speaks common.
Well, I also speak Draconic.
Oh yeah, you can.
I'm getting flashbacks to the what was the inn? It's been a long time.
Old Fort?
Yeah, that was it. The Old Fort Inn. There's like 20 kobolds setting up shot there, and rather than talking to them, I just peppered them with arrows from the rooftop.
We don't talk about the Old Fort Inn massacre.
You've seen my work?
Heard about it?
You can trust Nubble. He's good folk. He had a run-in with the drow himself and was taken prisoner. And when I came upon him, he was very quick to volunteer to help dispatch them.
Yeah, they wanted me to look at rocks in a river. It wasn't very fun. But I found all this platinum, though. It's about 100 coins worth of plat. A lot of gold. I had a lot of gold after I only bought one item with it.
Now, you see, the one thing Flint is more than racist is greedy. So now you have my attention.
Do you have a cart I can put my things in? They're quite heavy.
Well, we don't have a cart with us, but we have an extra horse. Actually, got several extra horses.
Appreciate it. Or are we on horseback already?
Yeah, you can have a free horse, yeah, with a saddle and all the rest.
Okay, I'll put some
Saddle
stuff
and all
on
the
my horse then.
trimmings. I can still carry your platinum for you, if you want.
Hey, it's shiny, I like it. I mean, you're not starving or anything, are you?
I'm not what?
Like, starving or anything? You don't need it?
Oh. No.
Yeah, I think I'll keep it. So where were the drow then we're fighting?
Well,
Well, first things first, we gotta rest our horses here. We just rode the last 2 days straight around the Moonsea and Gundarak Hill, and should probably pass on word to some of the Dales around here. Might have rustled up some trouble on Gundarak Hill. Best case scenario, the Northmen go to war with Sembia. Worst case scenario, they come here and burn everything down.
That sounds like a pretty bad worst case scenario.
Well,
any idea which direction they're leaning?
Oh, they definitely be coming from the south here.
Any indication of whether they're likely to come north or go south?
So you said you was a druid, right?
I did.
Can you, and he's gonna like flap his arms, like, can you fly?
This form, but I can take the form of creatures that can.
Yeah, just like that, yeah. It's just a short fly for someone like you. Could go take a look, ski.
That might not be a bad idea.
Oh, a cask can fly too?
Well, one problem at a time. Make sure that no one's coming here to burn down, say, Ashenford. And then we'll deal with the drow. There's a particular one out here, Jez the Lane.
He's someone that you both will have heard of. He's meant to be a mastermind. He's thought to have polio or some other disease that has given him a club foot. But yeah, considered to be one of the brains behind the Dark Elf operations.
Yeah, we're trying to take them alive, see, so they can use them as a bargaining chip. So if we can do that, bring them to Ashenford, that should solve some of their problems.
Okay.
But we gotta rest here. Our horse is at least a full day here. If you could take a look down at Gundarak Hill and let us know if they had, say, a giant army coming up here to kill us, well, that'd be real gosh darn swell.
All right, and I give a slight nod, and then all of a sudden transform into a giant eagle and start flying southward down the road.
And I'll wave as he goes. Enthusiastically, like the whole arm wave.
What was that, sorry?
Just an enthusiastic wave as you leave. Like, talk to you later sort of thing.
30 miles, a 30-mile flight there or thereabouts, which will make in a couple of hours, about 4 hours or so. There's no signs of any armies marching on the road, but once you are flying above Gundarak Hill, you're able to get a bit of an idea of the forces that are involved here. They camp up on a relatively gently sloping hill, and they appear to come from two completely different armies. One of them are very colourful and bright, almost flamboyant, like harlequins. They carry some of the most modern and indeed shiny equipment that you've ever seen. there's 100 armored sergeants, like 100 men in splint mail. There's another 200 crossbows, and a small amount of cavalry that consists. That's just one of the forces. On the other side of the hill, and seeming to occupy a dominant position within the hierarchy, there are about 100 raiders dressed relatively lightly with short bows and battle axes. Then there's a handful of elite berserkers and hundreds, literally hundreds of conscripts that may have been forced into servitude, although that's very difficult to ascertain from the sky. Anyway, the long story short is that there are more than 500 troops here, divided into two forces: the feral Northmen and the wealthy Sembians. But there is no sign of them mobilizing, at least not any further than about 5 or 6 miles away from the hill.
Okay,
Shit.
and they all appear to be part of the same group. It's not they're two armies, but part of the same people.
Two armies occupying the same hill. They are distinctly divided, like there are lines between them. And if you observe them for even as little as 10 minutes, you'll notice some enmity. There are a few people being hanged today. They've established or maybe they just chopped their heads off, probably actually beheaded. So there are a few people being beheaded today, and so they're putting heads on pikes. The majority of the beheadings seem to be the colourful people seem to be the ones getting beheaded, whereas the berserkers are the ones doing the beheading. So there's a great deal of tension between the two armies, but they do appear to be allies, a confederation, though that alliance might be sorely tested by the events of today.
I guess not a total failure, not a total success, but a little bit of both.
Task failed successfully.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, we got past Gundarak Hill, and that's what was really important. With our army intact.
Fly back and report what I saw.
Excellent. All right, and so yeah, it takes about 6 hours, the majority of the day. But the druid returns with the news of the divided forces of the executions. Our outriders have long since departed. They escorted the druid and Carrick, the druid and Drake Seeker before departing. But in parting, they offered some advice to Commander Flint and his troops, since they see Flint as the lieutenant or the captain here. And that advice was to visit the Abbey of the Golden Sheaf. It's a farm as well as a temple. It's meant to be incredibly fertile, extremely abundant. Some people say that it's the most fertile farm in the entire world, acre for acre. Whereas the Abbey of the Sword, which is our destination, a temple of war, is itself under siege. The Abbey of the Golden Sheaf is extremely secure in its position, and indeed supplies food all over the Dales and far, far beyond. So that's their parting advice: is to drop into the Abbey of the Golden Sheaf, if only to sample their range of 100 different flavors of beer.
As much as I want to do that.
We can always stop to restock. I don't know how much supplies we brought with us.
Well, that was the point of bringing scouts, was being able to forage most of what we needed. but we should be good for, I think it was 20 days, just off our carried supplies, so...
Foraging here is more likely to mean robbing farms because we're no longer in the forest or anything. And while not all of the land is claimed, there are wandering deer and rabbits and so on. The most productive land is the one that is sustaining agriculture.
If you need food, I know how to make very good berries.
Listen, unless you can make about, is gonna point at all the soldiers and horses, because we got 50 soldiers and about 80 horses with us.
A lot of berries.
Yeah, an awful lot of berries. So we probably would be best
90
to stop by.
if I decide not to do anything else.
I'm sorry, what?
I can make 90 if I do nothing else.
Well, what else can you do?
Oh, I can make plants grow, and I can heal disease. I'm pretty cool.
Curing disease might actually be useful. So we may or may not have just passed through some plague lands here.
I can also stop people from talking.
Now I might take that personal, you say that again.
But you asked what I can do.
Do you have your oath bow with you?
Yes. It's probably on his back.
Where'd you find something like that, then?
I was gifted it by Ulani. She said I was an elf friend, so I must be important.
Gonna pat the sword at his side, and it says, I also was, and he holds quotation marks, given in this one. Wink, nudge.
I don't get it.
It's all cool, I won't tell on you.
No, I want you to tell everyone. I'm a hero.
I'm sure you are, bud. Drow killing hero.
He's happy that you acknowledge his heroism.
Visible happiness.
Of course.
Nooble like that.
Nubble will remember that.
Flint likes this disposition. Kill Drow.
Yeah, Flint just sees like a notification at the top of his HUD saying he will remember that.
Yeah. Oh, so I think we rest up and yeah, let's go to the Abbey then.
Well, recently I also gained the ability to grant dragons prosperity to the land. It means the plants grow much better.
You know, that will actually be real useful back at our keep.
I mean, it's a gift all
if
should have.
you're willing.
Good.
So you rest.
Which abbey did you say we were going to?
The Abbey of the Sword is our destination, but the Abbey of the Sheaf is along the way. Of the Golden Sheaf.
That'd be just barely like a day and a half's ride. We can make it 50 miles?
100 miles, and yeah, you can get 50 miles on a horse without killing it. So you rest for the day and the night. Once again, the evening, the mist forms over, and in the morning, the mist forms back. You probably sent out some riders the 2 or 3 miles to reach the nearest village or hamlet of 100 houses or so, 100 people or so, so only maybe 20 houses or so. Anyway, they're friendly people, they're genial people, they're thoroughly... they're a bit like Daggerdale folk, but not as hard, not as nasty, not as unforgiving, not as dangerous. Altogether, capital folk, more friendly, more generous. Those of you who don't go out scouting to see the locals will inevitably pass them anyway, and so you will witness some signs. They are warning signs telling you to stay on the road. They warn about elven barrow fields to the west. They warn about displacer beasts and other dangers to the east. The sort of animals that aren't likely to truly challenge us, whether we had the army or not. But they would gobble up any lone traveller without second thought. 50 miles and 8 hours later, we've gone through countless dells and up countless hills, passed through literally a dozen different small hamlets. They're relatively common in Mistledale. This is great agricultural country, perhaps some of the best agricultural country in the world. And you learn that this place was settled when a meteorite struck a flaming path through the section of Cormanthor, enabling the humans to come and settle in extremely fertile ground. And they've been here for more than 1,000 years. If there's anything that you wish to talk about with the locals as you're put up, you guys, the captains, are put up in people's homes or in their barns and so on, while the rest of the soldiers have to make do, have to accommodate themselves. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about in between samples of wines and cheese and cucumbers and carrots and fresh lettuce and tomatoes and so on?
Oh, well, it seems like the war, or I guess the drow ain't got here directly yet, at least.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see if they had any ear of drow around.
Yeah. The drow are coming down from Cormanthor, and they're staging raids. So the northern farms are the least safe, and they're doing what drow are notorious for doing, coming along and hitting unprotected areas, carrying people off, presumably to take them into the Underdark. So there haven't been any direct attacks on like the larger hamlets, but homesteads, farms, travellers, workers out in their fields, shepherds, these are the sort of people that face extreme danger.
And that's pretty much impossible to defend against.
Mm.
You don't really defend against something like that. You either kill it or you live with it.
Or you move on and abandon, your family's home that you've been in for 100 years.
Nothing that like passersby can address. It has to be the people themselves of that area.
Yeah,
it's also
because it's going to be a constant problem.
It's also probably not something we could really solve with just like deploying our army defensively. Like I think this is something that gotta go kick the nest here.
Oh, you mean like go to the source?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I've tried applesauce once. It's pretty good. So we can go there later.
Morning, and yet another misty morning, although this time you're on a hilltop, so you're looking down into the chill dales as Frisian cows wander through the hillsides, and shepherds take their flocks out to graze upon the same hills. And it's a thoroughly pleasant day here in Mistledale. No sign of drow, no sign of Gundarak Hills invasions. And while there's no doubt that they are threatened both by Gundarak and the Dark Elves, there's no obvious signs of danger. There's no burning buildings. There's no fair maidens calling for help. Um, it's just a lovely, pleasant day out of the rain. Yeah, out of the rain.
I suppose.
Um,
Before the rest, could I have cast good berries twice?
yeah, absolutely. Just I got to answer my landlord just texted me, but I'll briefly answer.
So guys, who wants breakfast? I've got some berries.
Now, okay.
You hand you a good berry.
Sure, I'll have one.
I'm gonna feed it to my horse.
Your horse gains 1 HP
Wonderful.
and
Where did you
is
get
nourished
this
for the
berry?
day. See, your horse likes it.
Where did you get these berries?
Oh, I asked Cass for them, and he sent them from another dimension.
I'm sorry, what?
What? How do you find magic berries?
They're magical berries?
I mean, as soon as you find other berries, I reckon. Just gotta be the magic kind.
Yeah, so Cass sent them to me.
Well, I'll pass, thank you.
I don't know what that name means,
Well,
though.
your last. Oh, he's a drag. Cass is my dragon. Well, he's my friend.
Got a dragon for a friend?
Yeah, look at me. Who wouldn't have? Why wouldn't someone like me have a dragon for a friend?
It's not another kobold, is it?
No, it's a real dragon. I mean, I'm a real dragon, but it's an actual dragon.
It's just gonna kind of look around and ask, is he invisible?
No,
Is that kind of dragon?
He comes out when I want him to fight for me.
Can I fight him? See, I'm real good at fighting dragons, and Flint's gonna point at his cape. It is green dragon scales.
I mean, I don't want you to hurt him. But I mean, I don't think you could kill him there.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge if I ever heard it.
What kind of dragon was it?
Green.
On my one?
I think it is green, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a drake, isn't it?
I mean, I am a Drake Warden. They call me
Flint's
Drake
all
Seeker.
getting hyped up for dragon fights right now.
I mean, most of his power is in a different dimension, so like, he's not very powerful in this realm at the moment.
Shucks, that's a line I should use whenever I lose. My power is
My
not
power
in this
is in another dimension.
Well, I mean, it's true though.
Also on the floor in that puddle.
So he's also pretty cool. Like, his scales change color depending on like what damage I want him to do.
Wait, you say it changed colors?
Yeah. Sometimes he's red, sometimes he's blue, sometimes he's green.
But he's never like, he's gonna like wiggle his fingers, gold or silver or something.
I mean, not often.
Not often or not ever?
He's been gold once. That was pretty cool.
It's that Futurama Fry meme right now. Acting pretty sus.
You travel through the dale. You wake up here on the hill and mist all around. Relatively early in the morning after a splendid breakfast of beans and bacon and mushrooms. You travel another 50 miles, which will put you within the vicinity of the Abbey of the Golden Sheep. With nowhere else officially to rest, there are no inns or taverns to speak of. Rather, there's just kind of homesteads that travelers, the tourists or traders, mostly traders, can stop if they want to. It seems that the Abbey of the Golden Sheep is going to be as good a place as any And if you are asked about accommodation, then you are told quite directly that the priests there, the priestesses specifically, are expecting you. So, is there any reason why we refuse to go to this establishment, which lies a few miles off the main road?
It's a little. I mean, I suppose you should expect it from D&D priests and shit, but it's always a little off-putting whenever someone's like, "We've been expecting you."
What do you mean? I'm a hero. I'm expected everywhere.
I didn't expect you. You're so short.
I'm tall for my weight. Why are you why are you being mean to me? I don't like you anymore.
Listen, I'm being real nice.
I'm not going to share my berries with you anymore.
Oh. Pats his horse and he's like, "It's alright, buddy." Let's go to the auspicious meeting.
Yeah, can't refuse that kind of invitation.
The farms surrounding the abbey, and there are many, are literally the most fertile farmland, acre for acre, in the known world. Corn and rice, dairy, pork, virtually every agricultural industry can be found here under the brow of the Abbey of the Golden Sheaf. Most of it is wheat and barley and rye, but there are countless other varieties, and they're being attended to by acolytes who are able to use their plant growth abilities and summon rain where rain is needed, blast away the pests with gusts of wind and so on. And so it's a coordinated effort to combine magic with the most fertile soil anywhere in the world, and it's worked in tremendous abundance. The pumpkins here are the size of carriages. The watermelons are too heavy to pick up. Even the carrots are as big as a longsword. Everything here is on a phenomenally large scale. And as you're asked to sample pretty much everything that you go past, some cream here, some honey there, some bread, and then a new different type of bread and a third type of bread, all within the spaces of a few hundred feet. You're just being fed and fed, and it's almost like they're trying to fatten you up for the winter. For those of you who aren't so suspicious that you're not going to accept an offering from either a commoner or an acolyte priest. And so by the time you actually reach the abbey itself, a great walled and open area with a golden roof. By the time you actually reach it and dinner is served, a massive 7-course meal of pheasant and pork and wine and berries and cabbages and so on. By the time you actually get to your 7-course meal, you're probably not even hungry anymore. You've been sampling so many snacks along the way. You're being treated to, you're obviously the guests of honor here, and the general vibe that you've received from the priests who greet you here is one of quiet reverence. They're your fans. They know who each of you are, including Edwin and Neville, and they're interested in the various stories that you bring. They've heard of Raz's destructive power. They are intrigued by Dahlia's endeavors, the way she's so far away from her home, and the fact that she's such an individually powerful Vidine woman, where Vidine women tend to be seen and not heard, or not even seen in many cases. Um, and so they hold you all with a great degree, not just of respect, but of admiration. Um, Massages for those who want massages, baths. They'll braid your hair or your beard. They'll wash your clothes. They'll scrub out the bunions in your feet. Whatever it is that you want, they do it eagerly and without even so much as needing a thank you. Here we are at the table for those of you who aren't currently having a bath or whatever. The leader of the Shantian priestesses is a halfling lady named Alame. And she's being positively genial, just like everybody else. Are you finding everything to your specifications and tastes here at the Abbey of the Golden Sheep?
Wow, it's like perfect here. Look, this carrot's bigger than me.
I didn't expect anything, to be honest. This is something else.
Yeah, I usually offer the a dragon's prosperity, but like, I mean, you don't even need it, do you?
You are welcome to go and work in the fields if you wish.
You know, I mean, 8 hours is enough for the blessing.
Well, as nice as that is, I think there's other issues that need be addressed. Every night that we spend not out in Cormanthor is one more night for the Drow to consolidate their forces and kidnap folk from the edge of this here dale.
Oh, I forgot, we're heroes now, so yeah, so we've got some more important things to do.
The Drow are indeed a threat, an issue, a great problem here in Mistledale and throughout the Dales, Alame explains to you. But I'm not sure that an army will be sufficient to dislodge them, nor do I think that it would be a single operation. There are a handful of war bands. Their connection to each other we are unable to ascertain. Um, but as Drow want to do, they slink off into the forest before they can be found. There is only one group of them that are known to exist. Up in the Barrow Downs, not far from the River Ashabar, is an old elven graveyard, an old elven burial ground, and the Drow have established themselves there as they plunder it. Um, we have been unable to dislodge them, though there have been attempts made, and the location of the burial ground is now quite well known. Um, though I worry that kicking them will only stir up the hornet's nest.
But Cass told me evil shouldn't be allowed to prosper, no matter how difficult it is, and like, he's pretty smart.
Then by all means, go and deal with it, but I'm not asking you to.
Well, it's like the little one said, we're heroes and that's what heroes do.
Oh, very well.
So
I was under the impression that you were traveling to the Abbey of the Sword, but if you wish to address this problem, then I will not stand in your way.
Well, there was a specific event about a one Jez the Lame. We were going to attempt to apprehend him. The military force, though, the army, no, that's for the Abbey.
Understanding is that Jez the Lame is all the way on the far eastern side in the Elven Court, where he has established himself as a kind of king. That is not a small journey.
Just a little hop, skip, and a jump.
That's quite a journey, actually. And we've got imminent problems up to the north, so we've got to be able to handle each of these problems as concisely as possible. So.
And the Zentarum apparently just finished their siege on Hillsfar, so they'll be a significant problem more than they used to be, because their focus is going to go elsewhere.
I agree. I am far more concerned for the Dales, that is, with the Zentarum than I am for the Drow. Here in Mistletoe, the Zentarum pose no threat that I am aware of. Those barbarians of Gundarak Hill, on the other hand, are only a few days' march from just from capturing Asherburnford if they wish. But in the more broad sense of the Dales, it's my opinion that the Zentarum are the real threat. And if we could offer some sort of help, then we would love to do so. We have enough stores here to last 1,000 people 1,000 years. We would be happy to supply Shadowdale and Daggerdale with enough food to last a 6-month siege, although I'm not sure that the Zentarum would be interested in besieging such small towns. Perhaps they would simply destroy them instead.
Provisions would be useful. Nonetheless, we will take any aid that we could, that you could render to us.
Oh, you won't need to take it. We can send it upriver. After all, we're not expecting your army to be a food delivery service.
Well, I appreciate that.
But we do have something for your army. Yes. And one of the lesser priests, a mid-level priest, comes over, and Alame presents. This is Merlin's spoon. It is a magical device that can feed an entire army. If you should ever find yourself in an area where completely devoid of food, then Merlin's spoon will be enough to feed dozens of people and to keep you going until you find something better. Mind you, it's a rather dull porridge, and if you attempt to sustain your people on it for too long, then they might grow weary of the taste.
It's got an infinite porridge spoon.
Yeah, and I heard
That's right.
I heard porridge doesn't have the good things in it that may keep you good and healthy.
That's back-to-back sessions where I got items of infinite food.
I mean, if you think about it, the kobold is also an item of infinite food.
Kind of.
Oh.
Suppose it's too much to ask, but I'll do it anyway. You don't have any soldiers that you could spare, could you?
No, we do not have soldiers. We simply have hard-working people, good defenses, and the know-how of how to protect ourselves.
Well, you probably already rightly know this, and you've probably already taken your own steps as well, but you should pull your people back as much as you can to the larger settlements. You knew the location of a particular ruin, yes?
The burial grounds, yes. Although the draft forces there are not so large, not that we are aware of anyway. It seems that rather than having armies, they merely have bands, raider bands. They operate in groups of 4 to 10, not 50 to 100.
Indeed. Well, perhaps we can go deal with that one at bare minimum, and perhaps we can coerce some information out of them.
All right. So this is a surprise for her. She had evidently no intelligence gathered that you were preparing to do this, that you were interested in it at all. And so she indicates a place halfway to Shadowdale, so about 50 or 60 miles into the forest, where there is an elven burial ground. Maybe it's probably further than that, probably about 70 miles away from where we are, much closer to 80 miles, much closer to Shadowdale than it is to Mistledale. But yeah, she's happy for you to go and tackle this problem. If you wish to leave your army behind, she'll ensure that they are well fed in your absence.
I think we hit that on the way back, actually. But yeah, they'll keep that in mind for sure. If this is the case, I think we might just push on to the Abbey of the Sword and alleviate that issue.
We can always hit them on the way back.
Well, exactly. We're going to have to pass back through Mistledale on our way back to our castle anyway. So we got the intelligence that we need, and we know 2 locations that we need to go. Potentially actually have access to a some barges maybe. So we'll see. I'll talk with her. Yeah, see if we can't potentially arrange for some boats to ferry us back in a few days.
She will. Yeah, she will make it so.
I don't expect her to do it for free either, so I'll leave her some platinum.
Go ahead, but she's not asking for the money. Donations are very much welcome here. They are a business. They are a thriving business. They produce some of the best produce on the planet, and thus they're able to sell it for extremely high market rates wherever they deliver it to. But donations are always very much welcome. And with your donation of 250 gold, she gives you a writ that entitles you to, or entitles the wrong word, that introduces you to the various temples of Shantae. This is the Abbey of the Golden Sheep worship Shantae. She's like the nature goddess, the goddess of harvests, of farming, of agriculture. And although the Abbey of the Golden Sheep is by far the largest, little shrines to Shantae adopt the land and kind of form an alternative to taverns, or rather to inns and restaurants. It's a place for anybody to stop in and to get a free meal, to get some free accommodation. And if you're willing to make a donation, then that's all good and well, but they don't ask for one. It's a community service provided by the priests of Shantae.
Oh, while there's everything here, I'm going to ask Cass what the weather is going to be tomorrow, and I'll cast Druidcraft.
It'll be sunny.
Oh, it's going. Cass says it's going to be sunny tomorrow. It's going to be good.
Good drow hunting weather. Too bad we're riding.
Too bad I'm blind. In the sun, I mean.
Oof. Sunlight sensitivity is a pretty harsh mistress. Gotta pay that kobold tax.
You know, get that pack tactics though.
Yeah, that's strong.
The duality of kobold.
It's usually the kobold paladin that I see. I don't think I've ever seen a kobold ranger, so I'm curious to see how this goes.
Yeah, I was making a ranger, and then my soul just went, he's a kobold, and I had no choice.
It's fair. I am going to be a little bit racist to you. It's nothing personal.
No, I
guess it is personal, but it's not against you.
No, I expect it. Like, it's part of, like, making a kobold.
Fair.
All right. So, yeah, as we were saying, they give you a kind of writ of introduction, which will enable you to stay in any of the shrines of Shantae that you come across. Are there any further questions for them?
Oh, do you do wool here?
Yes, they do wool.
Ooh.
Because, I mean, I'd like some nice wool. Like, do you do coloured wool?
They do coloured wool, and they'll provide you with what you want.
Yeah, he'll get I think blue and green, like wool.
No problems.
Like, how much would a sack of each be?
It doesn't cost you anything.
Oh, okay, that's very nice of them.
Oh, wow. These guys are ridiculous. Huh.
Are there any important questions?
Not for me.
Just give me one more second to ponder that, and I think we're good. Any lately intelligence from the like Abbey of the Sword? Is that more or less cut off?
The word is that Assembra, which is the town that the Abbey of the Sword is nearby, is repeatedly getting hit by raids. It's not besieged in a technical sense, but rather it's under constant attack. The Abbey of the Sword, likewise, the route to the Abbey of the Sword is kind of being plagued all the time. But particularly, the Drow are known to be lairing in the catacombs in the base of the Abbey of the Sword, and the Tempest priests have just abandoned it. They are holding the staircase that links the catacombs with the upper temple. To prevent the drow from getting any higher, but they've given up on attempting to reclaim the catacombs themselves. So you can reach Assembra in the Abbey of the Sword relatively unchallenged, but because they're constantly trying to fend off the skirmishers, they have elected not to deal with the problem beneath their very feet.
Okay. I think I got an idea of how to deal with this here. It's that essentially we drop our army, our 50 men off, all our horses and supplies in Assembra, and reinforce them. We try to push onto the Abbey of the Sword here, and I want to see if we can't convince the priests to bail on the Abbey and try to reset it up either somewhere else or like go fight for the region or at least the town of Assembra or the Dales or maybe us. But see if we can't get them to like stop trying to hold on to something they clearly can't hold and help everyone else. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, this is the home. It might be difficult.
I don't think they kind of can leave or move it because they set it up here for a reason. They could always try to enlist protection from others, but I think moving is not part of the picture, nor would they want to, I guess.
Probably not, but it's like this. This is my sales pitch here. Like, Tempest is the god of battle, and like his temple is wherever the battle's at, and you guys are cowering here while there's a battle going on out there.
I mean, there's battle every day.
This isn't a temple. That's my philosophical argument. Then I'm gonna punch him.
He's not happy about that.
A diplomatic sort of punch, you know what I'm saying?
So like sucker punch to the face or like a tap
like
on
a really
arm
manly slap, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so open-handed. Okay.
I'm only being part serious about that, but yeah, I don't know if they can necessarily leave, quote unquote, but if we go down there and we like, I don't know, kill a bunch of drow and at least temporarily reconsecrate it.
Well, I mean, they might get the idea that they can't do this and do it somewhere else.
That or maybe we can prove ourselves to Tempest, something like that. If nothing else, if we help them out, they're going to give us potentially some really, really sweet bling.
Oh, if we please Tempest, will you come down and make them go away?
Maybe. If you pray really hard, little man.
I think I prefer the Canary Man.
What?
What?
Anyway.
So, yeah, so you get what information you can out of the Abbey of the Sheath, and you're put up in some lovely feather beds. Sandalwood is burned in your room aromatically, citronella to keep the bugs away. In the morning, the breakfast is served from dawn until 9 a.m., a massive banquet, orange juices and fresh milk and grapefruit and everything else that you could ever want. All too soon, it's time to leave, which your troops are extremely reluctant about doing. But they are already hit the road.
Listen, you guys do good enough and you can retire here, you know what I'm saying?
Start worshipping Frontier.
I mean, isn't that every soldier's dream, is just for like 10 years of that and then become a farmer, right? Maybe that's just Rome.
Yeah, that's not an uncommon aspiration. You're right.
The phrase "buy the farm" exists for a reason, after all.
Oh yeah. Good call. I hadn't thought of that. So without further ado, you pack up your stakes and head off and head towards the thoroughly pleasant place of Asherburn Ford, an open plan agricultural town of about 1,000 people, roughly half the size of Dagger Falls. And everybody tips their hat and says, "Good morning, sir. Good morning, madam." Everybody is so thoroughly polite. Even the dogs just wag their tails. Their barks are pleasant. It smells amazing here. The fields, the sunflowers, the roses are all in bloom, lighting the valley up with a plethora of colours and fragrances. And the people here are working hard. They're working friendly, but they've still got time to stop and offer you to taste their own homemade cider before you move on. Asherburn Ford's not particularly well stocked. There's not a lot of shopping to be done here. It doesn't have its own forge, for example. So most of what it's got is agricultural based, leather and wood and so on. There's only a couple of inns worth mentioning. The White Hart Inn, you learn long before you get there, is run by a former adventurer, a guy who has killed Drow and Zentarum himself. But on the other hand, there's a more upscale inn here called the Asherburn Arms, which might be better suited to those of you who have an officer's sensibilities.
I think we're kind of just passing through, but there are two things I'd like to do quickly in the town. And do they have arrows for sale by any chance? I know they don't have like weapons, but I burned
Sure
through
do.
almost my whole stock. Oh, I would love to buy some arrows.
Yeah, no worries. You can get them at the regular market price.
Do you guys think
Okay,
20
perfect.
arrows is enough?
Based on my experience just like 2 nights ago, buy extra.
Okay, I'll get 20 more.
Good lad.
What is the price of arrows?
I think it's 1 gold for 20.
Okay. So, do they have you mean blacksmith? Do you have studded leather?
They do. Regular market price.
Okay.
For a child? Or a very small lizard? Very big lizard, I suppose. Small dragon.
I think.
Yeah, they don't make small size, so it'll cost a normal price.
We might have a suit of scale mail that fits you too.
See.
It's mostly for goblin, but you know, you just put a tail spot in there and
Yeah, could I get the arrows, the armor for 4 platinum, and I'll throw my old leather armor as well? I think that's in their favor, like price-wise. But I don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
the other thing was to just drop off some, essentially just with the 2 tavern owners, essentially a job offer. So I'm gonna be posting a looking for adventurers ad, essentially.
Yeah, sure. So you set up a quest chain for some 1st or 3rd level heroes?
Oh yeah, you remember the giant of White Crag?
Yeah, of course.
All right, yeah, that. Deal with that.
All right, you want someone to kill the giant of White Crag? I mean, like, you'd be better off putting it up in Daggerdale or Shadowdale. It's a hell of a long way from Asherburn Ford.
Listen, I think of it when I think of it, but it's essentially just going to be it's for two things, both for the giant of White Crag or for any able-bodied men, like just for the army, essentially.
What are you offering?
I will put up the same pay rate. It's going to be slightly more than a skilled trader. I think it's 3 gold pieces a day. Is the offering? Also, yeah, it's patriotic, serve the Dales.
Oh, you guys
Evils
must have. Will I get 3 gold a day?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's just, I hope you weren't planning on claiming any quest rewards while you're, part of Deathwish Incorporated LLC.
Oh, you still called that? I thought I saw that name in a town ages ago.
Yeah. We are the stewards of Castle Daggerdale.
And that's near Daggerdale.
Let's see here. Is it on this map? I think it'd be right about there. Or is it this one? I'm not sure. But yeah, we've actually got some of the specs on it under the servants and mercenaries. But yeah, if someone comes back with the head of the giant of White Crag, let's say 500 gold, you gotta show it to me though. Delivered to Everett Flint at Castle Daggerdale.
Excellent. You get a lot of interest. A lot of people are asking. They basically want the details, but I don't think we need to go into them. Essentially, catch a barge up the river, get off in Shadowdale, and travel up through the hills until you reach the castle.
I wonder if we're gonna get any soldiers from this. The writ about the soldiers will report to the half-elf Albion.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, no, it'll definitely attract some interest. The pay rates are too good to refuse. 3 gold a day is a very high rate. Okay. So whether you choose to stay in the White Hart Inn or not, you will be summoned there during the night, during the evening for a formal dinner, a dinner with some important people. So if there is anything that you want to do here in this small town, with good-hearted people, great food, and overly polite situation, then if there's anything that you want to do, then by all means you're able to do it. Otherwise, we'll move on to the meeting.
I accomplished what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything.
Yeah.
Got them arrows?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the White Hart, H-A-R-T, like as in the deer, began life as a hunting lodge, and it just gradually expanded to become the rustic redwood building that it is today. There are trophies of stags and of owlbears, and of wyverns and manticores and chimeras up on the up on the wall. It's the place where people bring monster trophies to display and show off to the rest of the world. You're at a meeting or a dinner rather, one of those formal dinners with wine and roast beef and gravy. where we eat first, and then around about the second course we start discussing business. You're at the meeting with the proprietor, who is a guy named Halfast. I should probably just copy and paste it instead of typing it out. It'd be quicker. Halfast Harpenshield. Those of you with any training in history at all, or locals, will know that he's been an adventurer in the area for maybe more than 20 years. Well, nowhere near as famous as somewhere like Storm Silverhand, he's still a household name, particularly around here. He's as mentioned, he's the innkeeper and the proprietor. He introduces you to the High Counselor, a guy called Haraska Morn. Come on, computer, catch up. Haraska Malorn, and he represents the Council of Six, who are the governors here. He's not actually a member, but we won't worry about the details, the politics of a town of only 1,000 people. And the other third person who was in attendance is a sage called Arvian the Wise, an expert on the Zentarum and of relationships between the various dales, logistics, and just general knowledge. So these three are having dinner with the rest of you, and what they really want to know is how they can best defend their town. Hareska is talking to you in between mouthfuls of roast beef and gravy. And while chewing, he says, "Now, we probably should have built a wall many years ago, but we've never really felt the need for it. And besides, a wall's only going to protect the town. It's not going to protect the people, most of whom live out in the countryside anyway. Why, I remember 20 years ago, the Zentarum did invade Asherburn Ford. They came right down through the Vale of Lost Voices and hit us hard. There were 7,000 Zentarum, but we beat them back, we did. Oh, yes, we beat them back, we did. So it's not like we don't have experience in fighting the Zentarum, just nothing current. Well, how do you think we could best defend our town or the Dales as a whole?"
Well, depends what your real priorities are. Is it the land or the people?
Oh, well, I guess it's the people, but we need the lands as well, don't we? The Drow aren't really hitting the lands, though. The Zentarum might. They might sow the fields, I suppose. But an invasion is what we truly fear.
Well, how did you fight off the 7,000 the first time?
Same way.
That's a good point, actually. A coordinated effort. Mages and priests and warriors all working in unison. Got a bit of help from the druids as well. It was a combined effort. Yeah, a combined effort.
Well, judging by the last Dale's Council, there ain't quite the same spirit these days.
Well, maybe that's our problem then.
I think there's too many fires for, us alone to put out. I've been prioritizing the Zentarum. Maybe it's just my own personal leanings. But
Sage asked. Yeah, keep going.
Oh, what was he gonna say?
The sage asks, what about Dagger Falls? What sort of defenses do you have up there?
I'm careful in answering this question.
I have a small cave that no one knows where it is.
Well,
Smiles
Dagger
politely.
Falls. What's up?
He smiles politely at the kobold, then ignores him.
Well, Dagger Falls' defenses is the business of Randall Morn. I can only speak to what my own eyes have seen and what my own hands have done. But the Castle Daggerdale at least, is fortified enough to put up resistance if they're feeling obliged to siege anything. At least you know you got one set of proper walls somewhere in between.
Dagger Falls seems to be a little bit too far south to protect. Your Castle Daggerdale seems a little bit too far south to protect the northern sectors. Surely you must have some defenses north of Dagger Falls.
Gonna look to the druid for that one. Well, we had tried to work something out, right? But our ambassador, that's the right word, died.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
they're seeking
continue.
to understand a dark shadow that appeared in the desert that seemed to create a body of water underneath it, but no one's ever heard from them ever since they ventured out.
Oh, so you don't think that the druids will be able to lend any assistance to the Dales then?
They're not in a position to do so right now.
Fortunate.
Shit.
What about the werebeasts? Are they still at odds with the Dales? I understand that there has been little love lost between the cannibals and the farmers.
Well, that situation is a little bit better. The cannibals no longer are in a position of power amongst the druids. So we are definitely trying to move more in a direction of living in peace and harmony with the Dales.
But what about the
We,
Zentara, man?
you're a druid then, sir.
Yes, that's correct.
I see. How curious. Oh, well, that's a lot of valuable information then.
Oh, if you have a narrow passage, I can close it with vines if you want. Like, would that help?
He looks at the rest of you. Do you mean here or in Dagger Falls?
Where you need them, like either of you. But we're here now. I mean, I don't want to walk to Dagger Falls right now to do that.
He seems confused. We're more talking about broader strategy, man. You see, we're trying to anticipate the arrival of a force 10,000 strong. I'm not sure that putting up a fence made of weeds is going to help at all. Perhaps in a tactical sense, there might be some event where on the battlefield it is useful, but I cannot see how it counts as in the broader attempts to repel their invasion.
I've never done this tactics before. I'm trying.
Well, good for you, lad. Any drinks to your health?
Maybe you can get them with poison ivy and they'll get itchy feet.
Good idea.
We'll write that one down. Now, particular, this wizard, he's an expert on the Zentarum?
You're not a wizard, just a sage. And yeah, he specializes in warfare, and you know the Zentarum are the greatest military force in the region. And so yeah, he's a military tactician.
Gotcha.
Where does he think they'll go next from Hillsfar?
Indeed.
That is a very good question. It seems that they have staged the majority of their forces in Yulash, a temple town where they keep their academy. After the destruction of Zental
Testing.
Keep, the Zentara moved their war wizards to Yulash along with their priesthood. However, Vunla and Teshwave are both occupied towns, and either of those towns have enough forces to march down to Shadowdale or Dagger Falls and conquer it today, if they had the will. I wonder if they're merely waiting for the right opportunity.
What do you think the opportunity? What do you think they're waiting for?
It might have been us leaving. That could legitimately have been an opportunity that they were waiting for.
Maybe.
Shit, it almost makes me want to go back instead of fucking with the Abbey of the Sword.
We're already this far, man.
I heard a rumor that Elminster of Shadowdale was absent and therefore unable to defend Shadowdale?
That's bullshit.
Oh, he's in good health then.
I don't know about that. He's fucking old as piss, but you've heard as many stories about the old bastard as I have.
Yes, I suppose you're right. An archmage like that, it could be a little bit difficult to predict his movements.
Best not to factor anything like that in any sort of battle plan, really.
Well, I guess that tells us all that we are going to know. We're no closer to working out how to defend our own town, and no closer to knowing when the hammer shall fall upon Dagger Falls and Shadowdale. And he says this as our dessert is served. A rum-based flambage, a kind of wet dessert, dairy dessert featuring a lot of rum. And yeah, there is one further thing that that just comes to mind. He says, Haresk, High Counselor? Yes, yes. The man hasn't spoken very much yet, but he is officially in charge of the town. We recently discovered a body. A Sembian merchant had been killed by beast, torn apart by owlbears or something. Well, once they'd devoured the corpse, all we found was the clothes and his wares, of course. The Sembian had something very unsettling on his person. A comprehensive list of our troops here in Ashburn Ford, of their general movements, of their patrols and their strengths. We fear that there may be some kind of agent operating within Ashburn Ford. So be on the lookout. Take care who you share your secrets with, and you may be concerned that such agents could be found in Shadowdale and Dagger Falls as well.
Yeah. Do you know where he died, like specifically?
Hi. He was traveling up the road through the Vale of Lost Voices. Got halfway through Cormanthor when he was ripped to shreds. Up past the Standing Stone.
Well, at least the gods look out for us still. Or the owlbears, I'm not sure. The god of owlbears. A toast to the god of owlbears.
And all three of them raised their glasses. and drink.
Ugh. It's feeling like we're playing some Among Us right now, cause Arvin the Wise is acting kind of sus.
I already feel like that he may be, because the fact that he was, even though like Dagger Falls and Shadow, they have no strategic advantage against the Zentarum. He's asking about them, their defenses. That's all. I was like, be very careful with what you say here.
I tried to give them exactly what I think that they would know.
Was there something distinctive about the man, like that, like someone simple could like identify him easily? Like, did
he was a Sembian merchant. He is dead now.
Did he have like a pink
They
head?
had the troop movements was the thing. Can I see the note actually?
No, I'm afraid that we did not bring it with us, but it was details about our forces, of our troop movements, of our numbers. It had a list of the important people in my town. We were all on the list, of course. He says with a laugh.
Oh, if he was posing as a merchant, maybe he got the dead drop from one of the merchants in town.
Exactly.
That may be the case.
Is there like a marketplace? Like,
oh, absolutely. Yes, arrows and studded leather, they're all available down in the marketplace.
I've been to the marketplace. Like, how large is it?
Maybe 50 people. And the town's about 1,000 big, and of that, yeah, maybe 1 in 20 sell something.
Can I make a insight check, Arctic?
Yeah.
I guess reading the room here, in particular, when the bit got brought up about there might be a spy here, was there a reaction from anybody? Oh, that's a natural 1, baby. Let's re-roll that. That's a 5, baby.
There was shared concern.
Did the merchant have any like trade goods to make him look more like a merchant? Did he go alone? Like with nothing?
Yes, he was predominantly selling wine, but also grain and beef.
So I suppose that's where we start. Who sells the grain here? Who sells the beef?
Who sells the wine?
Europeans import most of the wine. The grain and beef is locally sourced, and thus it's sold in relatively liberal amounts. A lot of it's supplied by the Abbey of the Golden Sheaf, but just as much comes from household farms.
I was really hoping it's gonna be like, wait, isn't that your business? Never mind.
Because I was sort of hoping for like to narrow the shops down to like investigate.
Not really a shop.
There's only the Sembians sell the wine. They are foreigners. The meat, the grain, is produced by every man and his dog.
I'm 50% sure that this might just be a shadow thief, but nah, I'm not sharing that information out loud. I will, however, do something along the lines of dropping out a I guess like a thieves' cant greetings, like testing. Anybody pick up
There's
on that?
no acknowledgement. Still using the same insight check. You look around, and no one seems to, and the penny doesn't drop for anyone that you notice.
Well, I tried.
There's this dotted line on the map. What is it like here?
A trail, yeah, a trail. So the quickest way to get to Assembra will be follow the trail instead of going along the main road.
Because I'm thinking, because the merchant he left this way, didn't he? and died somewhere up here.
They found him at the
Yeah,
Veil
that's
of Voices,
correct. That's right. Yeah.
So chances are he probably came like this way, like that. Do they know where the merchant came from? Which entrance he used to enter town?
Yeah, he's come from the Moonsea, which is to the north, like Hillsfar direction. He's picked up his goods and he's gone back north again.
Goods being intel.
Yeah, yeah.
I could bet that that's probably Zentarum, I'd wager. Because that doesn't move along any of the information routes I'm aware of. Doesn't mean it's not Shadow Thieves, but... That's probably Zentarum then, or the Sembians. Maybe both, because we have had evidence that the Sembians and the Zentarum are like mutually interested in partitioning the Dales. Is that correct? That might be a bit of an
something like that.
extrapolation.
Yeah, it is. But there are parts of, but the Sembians have invaded parts of the Dales in the past. Yeah.
And I'm gonna be real with you. Like I'm looking at what we passed through with our 40 dudes, and we could have pillaged the ever loving piss out of this place with like 50 guys, 0 casualties. Like why the fuck are they sitting there with 500 dudes when they could, like they were literally giving away stuff at the Abbey of the Golden Chief. Like that is such a bad scenario. Ugh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the Sembians were kind of against the Dales. I was actually going to see if we can ally with them later.
I mean, we might be able to ally with them later. That's the thing, but we gotta it was kind of alluded to earlier that the Dales pushed back an army of 7,000, but that was because the Dales were working together. They had all like you remember like we've passed an awful lot of temples, and all these motherfuckers are in some stage of disrepair here. Like the best one off is probably the Temple of Lathander in Dagger Falls. And as for wizards, we've seen like 2 of them, and this butthole isn't even a wizard; he's a sage.
Speaking of such, there is a wizard in town. There are a couple of there's a merchant here that's selling a handful of magical items. There is an alchemist, and there is a full-on actual mage. So if any of those people interest you, then they have goods for sale.
Always worth talking to the mage. I don't know if we can get caught up too much in this whole merchant scandal and the definite not spy Arvin the Wise.
Yeah, I was actually, upon conclusion of this little meeting, I actually want to tail Arvin.
Oh man.
Because if he
bumping into
passes
each other
something
later,
on to
be
someone, yeah.
No, I'm spying on him.
Yeah, because I definitely feel like it's him, especially since he was asking Pokeprodi questions that he didn't need to know. Especially
he's
since
a
this place isn't
tactician.
really.
That's definitely like you'd be like, oh wait, you're from that particular region. Oh, what's the status of your military? What's the latest? Like we
I
asked
feel like
them.
he's a double agent.
Probably, but yeah, it's not
he
like
may
100%.
Yeah, I feel like he may. I definitely feel like he's with Centaurum. Like maybe we call him an expert, but he's probably giving like false numbers and shit.
Oh God, I wish I would have rolled better than a 1 and a 5.
Yeah, I think upon this conclusion, I'm going to fucking tail him and see if he meets up with anybody later.
All right. So he goes back to his house, which is a relatively nice 3-story building, or one of the less humble abodes here in this humble town. What are you gonna like be hiding in the bushes and looking in his bedroom window, or because he does go back home? What are you gonna do about that?
I want to be like where I can see if he leaves the home, but not necessarily like there.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He goes into his study and starts writing.
I want to go and have a look at the gate. Like, it's a long shot, but like, it might be useful.
There's no walls here, and hence no gate.
I mean, just I guess the edge of town, like
Yeah, no
where
worries.
like you would have left from.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no worries. You reach the edge of town.
It's like
10-minute walk.
How's the plant? Like, is there like grass or like plants? Like,
Plenty of it. Like it's mostly farmland. If there's grass, then that grass is being eaten by cows and horses and sheep.
okay, so what was I've already forgot the name of the dragon. A Cass. Cass, give me. I want to speak to these plants, and I'll cast Speak with Plants using my primal awareness.
The plants say hello.
I say hello to the plants. I will ask the plants if they've seen a man matching the description.
Of the merchant.
Yeah, of the that's why I asked like if there's anything super distinctive.
The plants aren't aware enough to really tell one person from another.
Yeah, I thought so.
I don't think they can see.
Yeah, limited sentience, not really. They can say what creatures have passed, but in the past day, so it's not really going to do anything.
Yeah, they'll say like, "Oh, a human passed earlier."
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
then another one, and another one. Yeah. Yeah, people are going to and fro every day. You know, coming into town and then leaving. Kids going to school and going home. Standard.
I think we let Ashenford deal with Ashenford problems.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right.
Do we have
Unless
to stay the night
Braz.
here, or
Yeah.
It's night time, so you don't have to. But
Okay.
but your men are already half pissed, so you know, unless you want drunken riders, you might as well.
It's
And
like
they're
this.
wooing women.
We're probably gonna fight tomorrow night, so let them drink and fuck and whatever. Then they can go die tomorrow, or maybe a day and a half. I'm not sure. Yeah.
With old boy's apparent study, is there a view in from the outside?
Yeah, you're able to like he keeps the curtains pulled, but he's not pedantic about it.
I can see if like a light has gone out or something.
Oh, he writes pretty long into the night. Yeah, so like 10:30 he's still writing, 11 o'clock still writing.
Hmm.
It does go out at about 11:30 though.
I kind of, yeah. I don't know if I want to infiltrate alone or not, because I can polymorph into something small and then walk in. How about I meet up with the party and give them an update? Say that he's been writing all night and he's finally done, and I kind of want us to go see.
I mean, I've been writing all night, and he's gonna show his ledger.
You always write.
And just because it takes me a long time.
So you want to break into his house because he's been writing all night?
I mean, I can do it.
No, he's been super sus. So.
No more sus than anyone else here.
Does he have a large home? Like his bedroom would probably be far away from his study, or is it like right there?
Yeah,
Tell you
his
what,
bedroom's on the second floor and he studies on the third, so it's different floors. Yeah.
if you can talk Dahlia into putting invisibility on me, I'll do it. But if she's not into it, if you can't convince her, I ain't into it.
What say you, Dahlia?
Are you still there, Lon?
He's been muted for a while, I think. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I'm not currently capable of casting that spell on you. Not unless we wait a while and rest.
Bollocks.
Oh wow, are you a wizard?
Please don't call me that.
It's something of a slur where she's from. It's kind of rude.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like imply you were a powerful magic user.
Just cringe. So it's alright.
You said that shit was on the 3rd floor, right? The study?
That's right, yeah.
Or did you say first? Okay.
Well, if
We
you
can
still
get in, but I don't know about getting out.
I mean, I'm real good at all these things involved. I'm literally a thief. This is cake shit if he's actually not a wizard. But
I can always polymorph you. Or
I think that this is bigger risk than reward, but I'm also like very curious as well and kind of want to just steal his papers. So tell you
yeah,
what,
we
you
don't.
polymorph into something I can carry or something like that, or if the druid's in on this too, this is another good trick. But yeah, just
I mean, can't you just polymorph, read the thing, and then leave?
yeah. I mean, it's hard to take it away if you're polymorphed, but I can just snatch it. Plus, I can rifle
Well,
through
you can put it
doors.
in like your pocket or something. When you polymorph, it'll still be on you.
Well,
but I
If you
mean,
like put it on your person and
if
then
you
polymorph.
if you steal it and he's sus, like he'll know something's up. He'll do something silly.
Yeah.
well, I
I don't
suppose you
think
could just
this is a good
bring
idea.
you just bring some paper and something to write with, and just make notes on what you see.
Oh wait! If you turn into a beast, I can see through you. I know a spell that can see through your eyes. So then I can just narrate, and you can write down what he's written. Then we won't have to steal it.
Oh shit! So if I like turn into something small or turn Flint into something small, he goes and sits on the desk, and you can just see through his eyes.
I think that's how that would work. I'll
Wait,
have to ask Cass.
I have reservations about this. Now, all you guys can use your freaky magic on yourself all you want, but like, I don't know about that.
Hey, it's a gift from a dragon. It's good.
I'm
But so
perfectly
is
down
this.
for going inside and him doing that. Because then I don't have to
Okay.
get out of polymorph. I can just get in as a small critter and get out.
I honestly think that this is just being overthought. If you really want this done, Flint can do this in 2 skill checks. It's probably going to be a stealth and a investigation.
But if he sees you in his home, it's done. If he sees a mouse, it's a mouse.
Then you do it.
You know, I don't know. If y'all don't want to do this, that's fine. We can just leave it.
I think if we do it, we need to do it properly.
I do feel like a mouse would be more subtle.
Yeah, do the mouse thing. Does anyone have any paper and ink?
Not me.
Do you have to be able to see the creature, Carrick, to look through their eyes?
I think I need to touch them, and then it lasts 1 hour.
Okay, so I can polymorph. You can touch me, and then I can walk in. Is that it? Is that how it would work, Arctic? Is that like good?
I'm not sure.
Yep.
Oh.
I'll post it. Think of the beast sense, because if polymorph turns you into a beast, would that work?
Yeah, if it turns you into a beast, yeah. I touch a willing beast, yeah, you become a beast, so yeah, it would.
Huh. While perceiving, you gain benefits of special, though you are blinded and deafened to your surroundings. Is he still able to talk? You're still able to talk?
It doesn't say I can't.
No. No, if you're a beast, you can't talk.
No, I'm saying him.
If I beast.
If he's like reading something through my eyes, he could tell everyone what I'm saying. Okay.
He can, but he can't hear people if they're responding or anything. So like you can't talk to him. All he can do is talk.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any smaller coins than platinum? I'll go get some paper and pens.
I don't think you can write effectively though.
Oh, well,
No,
someone else.
you won't be able to
I'd narrate and someone else would.
Oh, someone else to write?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that could work. Yeah.
I can always polymorph into a squirrel. Then I'd be able to climb his desk easily.
Can I go? I guess what I'm asking is, does anyone have any silver that I can buy paper with? Because I've already got platinum.
Oh, I've got paper and stuff if you need something to write with.
That's good. Let's get going then.
All right. Would you say that a squirrel is able to climb like a wooden desk? Well, they can jump pretty high.
Yeah, I'm just gonna point out that if you're doing a B&E and you're not polymorphing into a raccoon, you're probably doing it wrong. That's all I'm gonna. That's my last criticism. I'm sorry.
Just like you wake up in the middle of the night to get a glass of water, and you go into your
There's
study,
a fucking raccoon on your desk,
and he's like just reading up papers. It's like, is that better or worse if you're a spy?
Well, I'm sure he probably eats at his desk, so he can. He could probably be like, yeah, just crumbs.
Yeah, my lord, like a raccoon came and read my papers.
Nah, I'm going with a squirrel because they can jump and they're harder to see. Want to be a squirrel with melanism? It's a black one. Can I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can turn into a black squirrel, definitely.
All right. So I'm gonna do that,
and then I'll use my primal awareness to cast Beast Sense on him.
And I'm off. Are any of the windows in the upper like cracked open? I would have been able to see that. No. Okay, so I can. Squirrels can fit through anything that their skull can. So, do you think I could fit under the door? I feel like I.
Not under the door, not through the window. No.
Okay.
Yep. Any other ideas?
Is there a chimney?
Sure is.
Is there smoke coming out of it?
There is not. No. No. It's coming into summer, and so there's no smoke.
Okay, I'm going to go through the chimney then.
All right. You go down into the chimney and you infiltrate the house relatively easily. You're on the bottom floor.
All right. I'm just going to scurry up the stairs then.
Okay. You hear the humming of a chambermaid as she goes about her night duties.
I want to try to avoid her as much as possible. Is she anywhere near the stairs?
Okay. Yeah, coming to and fro, going from one room to another.
That's 16.
Oh, that's pretty good. And so, yeah, you're able to easily evade her as you scurry up the stairs to the third floor. The door to the study is locked.
We did not think of this.
No. Shoot. I just had to break concentration to get out of polymorph, right?
Yeah.
That would also break
because I do have
Beast Sense
Thieves'
spell.
Tool. Oh yeah.
Well, since it was cast while the spell was, I guess, good, would it stay good? Would it suppress it, or would it end the spell? What happens?
You can only see through a beast's eyes, and if he's not a beast anymore, you can't see him.
And then if he became a beast again, would the spell persist?
No, you'd have to cast it again because he's no longer a beast.
Okay. Shoot. How do I want to do this? I can always try gnawing on the door.
Just go and steal the
BV
key.
away through.
I don't know how to
Yeah.
tell you this, but the lock is mightier than the squirrel.
Huh.
Yeah. Is she still around? The lady, is she on another floor or
He's
what?
back on the second floor.
All right. Yeah. Plus, she probably doesn't have good health, and she'll probably have keys, right? Ah. I don't know what to do here. You know what? I'm going to unpolymorph.
You are a man in a hall in front of a door. You can hear a woman sweeping a floor below you.
Can I try to pick the lock with thieves' tools?
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the skill there?
Dexterity involved with thieves' tools. If you don't have it, you're not proficient.
I have them.
Okay, cool.
What was that? Did you say dex save or?
It's a dexterity check with thieves' tools as the skill. If you're not proficient in the thieves' tools, it's just a dex roll. All right. An alarm has been set off, an audible alarm. The scurrying starts within the house. One of the women screams and grabs her broom and begins to run up the stairs. You have about 6 seconds to decide what you're doing.
Is there a window that I can jump out of?
No, not without going to the staircase and being seen.
Polymorph then?
Yep.
Polymorph into a mouse.
All right, you
and
are now
scurry
a
away from the
mouse.
door.
Okay, she runs up past you and looks over and sees the thieves' tool still lodged within the door, and begins to scream like waking up her master. What do you do now?
I think I'm just gonna wait, try to go to an opposite room, like a different room, but stay on that floor.
Yeah. The doors are all locked, or at least closed anyway.
Okay.
You're running around up and down the hallways. She's waking up the household.
All right. I'm gonna try scurrying down the stairs.
Okay, you're able to scurry down the stairs. As people wake up, someone sees you. They pay you no real mind. They just watch as the rat runs, from one side of the building to the other.
All right. I guess back out the chimney. You can climb, right?
Yeah, the might have a climb speed. I think so.
Let's see.
They do not have a climb speed. At least the companion one don't.
You'll need to make an acrobatics check to scurry up, which will be just a dexterity roll for your mouse. Not sure what a mouse's dexterity is.
11.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh.
You scurry up. You're a little bit sooty by the time you get to the top, but the guard are already arriving at the house. They let in and they begin their investigation.
And I'm going to return to the party and unpolymorph. Mission failed. We'll get them next time. And so I have like an alibi. We all have an alibi. People have seen us there, right?
Could you turn into a bee?
I have a question for you, Arctic. So when the alarm got raised, can I kind of like fall in with some of the guards and like ask them what's wrong and go with them, act like I'm supposed to be there?
Yeah, make a persuasion roll. You'll have advantage since I love you.
Oh, I mean, I'm kind of lying about it.
Deception. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, advantage. Brilliant. And they are delighted to have you along. In fact, they'll put you in charge of the investigation, basically. And so it's pretty simple. It looks like somebody has broken in. How they got in, we don't know. They left their thieves' tools lodged within the door. They didn't get very far. The alarm, a magical alarm, was probably set by the mage or maybe the alchemist, maybe the sage himself. Maybe he has some basic magic skills.
Sure, dispelled magic.
Let's talk to the sage first, and then I want to examine the crime scene.
All right. The sage is suspicious of you, deeply suspicious, but he is nonetheless cooperative. He can't work out how anyone got in. His theory is that they might have infiltrated through the chimney, but there's no signs of any footprints or anything like that.
Let's look for squirrel prints.
Yeah.
I don't know those squirrel prints.
Yeah, you find squirrel footprints. Yeah, that's right. So there's there are little sooty paw prints of some 2-pound beast. But it's a mystery to them. You see him discussing things in private with like his chambermaid and his butler and whatnot, and they cast you suspicious glances. But,
can I kind of try to listen in a little bit on that?
Yeah, it'll be a disadvantage to make a perception check because they are deliberately trying to have you not hear.
That's no good.
Yeah, you don't hear a word. They go into different rooms and then come back out again.
I tell them that this was probably a mage. Clearly the work of a shape changer.
Don't you have a mage among your party? Asked the sage. It seems odd that on the same day that we would have visiting spellcasters, that a crime would also occur.
Almost too suspicious, don't you think?
We have been looking
Only
for
a complete
Zentarum.
Idiot would do that and leave his thieves' tools here.
You should question. You should not trust those within your own ranks. I do not believe. It may be that the Zentarum spy is with you.
It is within us, and I. Okay. Over
Wait
the process of
weren't you a former Zentarum member?
Over the process of scoping the house, was there any potential like paraphernalia, any sort of like thieves' cant,
Yeah.
Anything Zentarum related?
Yeah, sure. Make a I suppose insight, I guess, is what you're after. Yep. There are a lot of books on the various politics and religions. In particular, it looks like they've spent a lot of time pursuing through the Bainite Bible, through the book of the book of tyranny. But there's no symbols, at least none that you notice.
At some point, after seeing any sort of Bainite paraphernalia, can I try to like subtly it's from the medallion. Can I try to cast the protection from good and evil out of it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And I'm gonna just kind of pull one of the Bay Knight books off the shelves and say that's interesting reading.
Yes, he says, it pays to understand the mind of your enemy.
Be smarter to keep this better concealed then. Someone might get suspicious then. Can see why they might do this, but
Well, I am a sage. It is not. It is quite regular for people in my profession to have a library displaying the area of their expertise.
On his person, he doesn't have a any. He doesn't have a holy symbol, does he?
No, not on his person. No.
Damn it. Just books. Well, it appears some questions must be asked, or someone appears to be framing us, and I'm gonna cast a suspicious glance back at the sage.
He nods. You should check within your own ranks. It does seem quite a coincidence that a magically powerful thief would infiltrate my home as an important person on the very night that a former member of the Zentarum shows up.
And I say something in Thieves' Cant along the lines of, if this was my work, he wouldn't have even known I was here.
He nods politely and smiles.
Oh, that was in Cant. Did he pick it up?
I guess there's no easy way of knowing. He nodded and smiled.
Fantastic. Hopefully you don't get arrested, Roz.
Well, no one knows I can, besides us, no one knows I can perform polymorph. Everyone knows me as a fire crazy warlock. Not warlock, sorcerer. I've never used polymorph in battle with witnesses.
That or they're gonna think it's the wizard or the druid. Or just a druid. I kind of forgot that we had a druid with the party again. So hopefully I didn't throw you under the bus just now.
There's no hardcore evidence,
clearly
though.
this
It's
is
just
Ace,
hearsay.
right? Oh, I mean, there's
the thieves' tools.
Thieves' tools, so a wizard who could scry that. Anyway, that's not something Flint would actually know, but
I was questioning why you decided to reveal there was a magical thief when they had no idea.
well, I mean, I've seen that trick done multiple times already by Roz. I knew what Roz was doing. I was gonna try to pass it off as a druid, and I forgot that we just got a druid with the party. It's like, yeah,
But one that's
this will
trusted
be
in the area,
perfect.
though, right?
And
even if they say we were the spy, the shit that went down beforehand was long before we even got here.
It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what they
fuck
think anyway, but I think that this was very unnecessary.
I should have used a spell magic on the door. I never thought of that.
I was really hoping that he was just gonna like try to cast like hold person or something on me, but no, alas not.
But I was thinking, like, couldn't you have become like a fly and just flown under the door,
Spider.
like something really
Yeah.
small?
That's the pro gamer move.
I panicked. Okay.
We learned maybe.
Yeah.
We maybe pissed off a maybe traitor.
What's he gonna do?
I think
Tattled a bane on us. I don't know.
He's just an emulation away from death, so.
Honestly, I just didn't roll good enough on my insight check to potentially implicate him, so I'm not going. I'm
Okay,
not
sorry,
gonna
be right
try to
back.
bite off that. But yeah, I think we're best off getting a move on, doing what we do
Yeah.
best, and go fight some people.
Right. Any interest in the magic item shop? It's not really a shop, but there's a handful of items there.
Yeah, I mean, let's at least
Have a-
peek the list here, right?
I have a grand total of 49 gold pieces, so I'm good.
Well, we got a couple grand in the party fund right now. We lost some money in
Is
taxes,
there any?
but we got some money from the Dales Council to do this kind of shit.
Is there any arcane focuses?
Yeah, the alchemist the alchemist sells arcane focuses. I think they're 25 gold pieces. I think. He also is selling smoke powder at 100 gold pieces a barrel.
Folding boat.
Oh man, it's really tempting to just drop like 4 grand on the folding boat and the bag of holding, but I know we need to pay our army and shit and our castle, and on like potentially have money to pay for the giant of White Crag, all those things. We could
What's a bag of
potentially pick
holding?
up. Oh, so we could potentially buy a bunch of smoke powder and store it in the bag of holding. And then you can cast a fly spell, jump on top of like fly above like say Tesh Wave or the Goblin Fort or something, and you use the command word for it and you say empty and you carpet bomb it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with fly for my next spell as well. So
It's a good. Just got the 4 of them though. That's what we got. That is a good
Yeah,
deal on a
that's
bag
the
of holding.
entire stock. Yeah.
is a folding boat literally a boat that you could put in your pocket or whatever?
I
Yes.
think so. Yeah.
Let's see what size of boats we can get with it.
If we can get a boat that we can fit all of our people on and we can fast track back home.
Oh, I
Yeah,
already
it's
got
not
arrangements for that. Assuming that the Temple of the Leaf or the Golden Sheaf is still running, I paid for her to arrange us to get barges on our way back. So we should have that part of the journey dealt with.
So it's a pretty small boat.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth 2 grand.
Oh, hang on. No, there's a couple of different boats. Look, I didn't really look at it. I'll copy and paste the entire thing. So the second command word makes it into a ship 24 feet long. Can hold 15 people.
Definitely better, but we're gonna need about 20 of these babies. That's just not even gonna. Yeah, if we want to move our horses, we need barges for that. But if you have cash for it, I'll put a little bit of money off party funds for it. But yeah, it's hard to justify buying any of this, honestly. I'd like a bag of holding, but that's mostly at this point just to safely store smoke powder.
I think a bag of holding would be very useful. I have 860 gold pieces on me that I can put towards something.
Definitely don't put all your money in. I don't think we're ever gonna get a price that good on a bag of holding ever again. So I think we I think we take that. I am flat broke, so that would all be coming out of party funds.
I'm fine with it as long as everyone else is.
Yeah, fine by me.
All right. Okay, so moving on, right?
Yep, 2,000 on that. I don't know if it takes it in trade bars or credit or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, cash, gems, whatever. All right, the deal is done. I'll take a short break. It'll only be a couple of minutes. I'll be back very shortly.
How much did he say that the smoke powder was, or whatever?
It was 100 gold pieces for a barrel. I'm definitely gonna buy some of that. Yeah.
And put that in there.
Yeah, exactly. It only fits like a certain area in it, so I think 1 barrel is about all we can get. But if we don't use it for anything else, we can definitely use the cannon back at our castle if it ever comes to that.
Ja. And we could probably have Debbie make more cannons too.
Oh. Oh. Speaking of Debbie, where's she at? He at?
I asked him, but he hasn't answered.
Might be up to something.
I know life has been hectic for him in the last month or so. Seems like a lot's going on for a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I have returned. Did I miss much?
We're taking a
No.
break. We bought a bag of holding.
Oh, okay.
You have, if you have money, we actually just stopped at the magic item or place
I
selling
have,
magic items.
96 platinum.
Oh, it's like 1,000 gold. Okay.
Yeah. Because I thought having some money in game would be useful.
It's a little out of your price range at this point. And
Okay, I was saying I have 16 armor class. Is that sort of like acceptable for like an archer?
oh yeah, you should be good. That's about what I sit at most of the time, and I
Okay.
sometimes melee, but I do damage reduction type shit, so I almost want people to hit me.
Yeah, I get to have resistance to one type of damage, like of the elemental types. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome back.
We depart. Thanks for that. We depart Asherban Ford, and we have the option of going up via the Standing Stone to see a bit of ancient architecture, or just cutting along through the forest over to Assembra, which will be our next destination.
I
So
think we
just
should.
based,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just based on the distance, it's gonna be just over 50 miles. Are we able to push just a little harder to like skip lunch or something to get there by nightfall, before
Yep.
nightfall?
Yep.
Could I pick out like clearer paths because I'm quite good at survival?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a trail anyway. So but it's not going to hurt. So your abilities will be helpful.
Okay, never mind. That's right about 50 miles. But that means we can't go to the Standing Stone. Oh, actually, hang on. Before we do that, that's a bad idea. We know the drow have been ambushing through that way. We should stick to the main road.
Well, I mean, if they ambush us, we'll just kill them, right? And then they can't ambush someone else.
Yeah, they're only attacking in small parties, so I feel like we could definitely take anything.
All right.
700 drow ambush you from the bushes.
Right, yeah, it's like it's gonna get like we've had one too many Vietnam comparisons for me to feel really comfortable doing that off the beaten track. But alas, let's do it.
And to Flint's surprise, your journey through the forest is almost entirely uneventful. There are loggers and trappers and furriers and other folk of the forest. People tip their hats and bow and call you sir and ma'am. But the closer we get to Assembra, the fewer humans we come across and the more non-humans we come across. Dwarves and half-orcs and even stranger races like Goliaths and lizardmen and turtles can be seen. And when we reach Assembra itself, a town of a couple of thousand people, one of the first things that you notice about it is its cosmopolitan nature. It's said that Assembra has just as many people of different races and varieties as Waterdeep does on a much smaller scale. Waterdeep's got a population of about 100,000. Assembra's got a population of 2,000, but proportionately they've got just as many, just as diverse a citizenry as the great city on the coast. The other thing that you notice quite soon about Assembra, the capital of Battledale, is that there aren't many children. There are many children, there aren't many adolescents. Between the ages of, say, 15 and 20, something like that, 13 and 25, that block of years, there's a remarkably large absence of people. Lots of kids, lots of grown-ups, lots of elderly, but none of those people in their youth, in their prime, that are really the future of society.
Is that a Zentarum event, or is that something else?
You presumably you asked some people.
Well, I mean, I was Zentarum. Was this something that was a military campaign, like against the civilians? Is that what happened?
Not that you're aware of, no.
Okay.
So by adolescent, you mean like the people who would be drafted, like conscripted into armies, or like younger than that?
Younger than that, I think, right?
A bit of you could conscript 13-year-olds, certainly 15-year-olds, but yeah, I guess it's that sort of age. But you'd probably expect that there to be more 30-year-olds in there as well, and they're here, they're raising their families and having children and so on. So it's really a gap of like 15 to 25 that's missing.
And both girls and boys, there's just no one of that age.
It's not that there's no one, but there is a notable lack, and mostly there's probably more girls than there are boys still remaining. But yeah, both genders have evacuated the place for some reason.
That or no one had kids, or someone started killing babies.
Or
It's
just
also,
the youth up and left.
Or maybe there was a
That'd be
war
weird.
in the past, and like they didn't have children because they either died or
Well,
that
they would
war.
have been too young to fight in
No, I mean,
the Dales revolts, I think.
yeah, but maybe like when the Dale revolts happened, those people either died or didn't, or out of war, so didn't have children. So maybe that might be why there were less children now. Like
I don't know
sort
how
of
to
like a
tell you
missing
this,
generation.
but
The sort of the center of the time frame that people
might
are
be the
missing from,
Drow.
it lines up with when the Drow started migrating to the surface.
Yeah. And the retreat too, so the retreat. So that lines up with that, right? That was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So that does kind of line up with just the generalized like depopulation of Cormanthor and was that the Times of Troubles? Spell plague? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. The Time of Troubles, yeah. And the Time of Troubles was an event when the gods were cast down to the earth and were made to walk around in mortal form as a kind of punishment for hubris.
I'd bet that
Well,
that's where that's going to. But yeah, let's go introduce ourselves to the town defenders, I guess.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah, as mentioned before, it's a very cosmopolitan town, very metropolitan for somewhere so small. You can get all sorts of knicks and knacks and cultural icons that aren't available elsewhere in dales much larger, such as Dagger Falls. And with them, they bring a whole bunch of religions, exotic religions from faraway lands. There's a monastery dedicated to the gods of Karatur, which is literally 10,000 miles away. There's a tabaxi here who is preaching about the gods of their country, which is literally 20,000 miles away. Maybe not quite that big, but it's a long, it's the other side of the world. It's a big place. Anyway, you're able to go and meet with some of the local leaders. It seems that the temples here hold a fairly influential position within the town. The Lord himself, a guy called Lord Ilmeth, is a helm worshipper, the worshipper of the god of protection. There's also a priest to Gond, the god of craftsmen. And these two individuals form some of the most important people within the town. It's not hard for you to get an audience with them, and yet they're not particularly friendly towards you, in spite of the fact that you're here to help them. So you must be those mercenaries sent from Daggerdale to lend a hand.
Where do you need us?
Well, frankly, we don't really need you at all. Here in Assembra, we're keeping the peace quite well. It's only down at the Abbey of the Sword that the failures have been so apparent. They worship Tempest, they do, god of battles, but they're unable to clean out their own basement. What's that all about, eh? Not much of a god if he can't even protect his own temple.
Way I understood it, gods had, what are they called, pantheons? They go and help each other. Yeah?
Aye, but Tempest himself walked through here in the time of troubles. Aye, he did. He walked through here and settled at the Abbey of the Sword. Well, it wasn't the Abbey back then, it was just a ruin, an ancient ruin dedicated to the heroic dead. But the temple was built in his honor, and I say it was hasty, all too hasty, and without merit. Why, what's the use in building a grand temple if you're never going to be able to supply it with the defenders that are needed?
Oh, you're wiser than the gods, apparently, my friend.
The gods, but wiser than Tempest, perhaps. A warrior whose only lust is for violence. Aye, Helm is a protector. Helm is the god that this town needs.
Huh.
Well, that's funny because Helm is like a piece of armor because it protects.
Yes, little one, he laughs. We could perhaps he's named Shield in some other lands, but I do not know. Those Tempest priests, you see, when they were constructing the Abbey of the Sword, they discovered portals deep beneath the catacombs. Didn't even know the catacombs were there, but once they'd explored them, they discovered portals. Portals, I say. Well, that's disturbing portals can only be bad for everybody. But disturb them they did, and so I think that they had it coming.
I could use a portal. I need to get to my
Well,
dragon.
Well, I would advise you not to investigate them. It'll only lead to trouble.
He's gonna kind of shoo the kobold a little bit, and just quiet on that part. Just quiet on the portals. You You say you have the city defended then, yes? You don't require our aid?
Oh, well, we've got incursions of drow, but if you're willing to leave your army here, we won't say no. But I can't see, however, how else you're going to be of any use.
What about you? You want to come with? You're a god of protection. Surely you can show these Tempest worshippers how a real god does it.
Oh, no, sir, I'm protecting the town. I'm a lord. You see, I might worship Elm, but I'm not exactly some great warrior. I'm merely someone who's defending his people. You want warriors? Look over at the Temple of Tempest, at the Abbey of the Sword. They're the mighty warriors.
Oh, I got to ask, how many Sembian merchants come through here?
Oh, probably 2 or 3 every 10 days.
Oh, so, like, have you seen one in the past? And I'll describe, like, give him a description that we got from the Abbey of the Golden Sheaf, the guy that got killed. Has he
Full
been through here?
clothes, moustache and goatee, dark hair. They all bloody look like that.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth, brother?
I was just told he looked like that.
Yes, Sembians, they've got a certain style. They think that they're unique, but they're unique like everyone else, if you know what I mean. Flamboyant, dressed from head to toe like a bloody rainbow unicorn, they are. See, the men down there in Sembia, they're, well, they enjoy the company of other men, if you know what I'm saying.
I don't. Can you please explain?
No, please don't. No.
Yeah, but he's giggling. He's just trying to embarrass the man.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to get any actual help out of him, but
I see it. The temple should be brought down, level the whole thing, demolish it, bury those portals, and that'll prevent any further incursions, not just from the Underdark, but from any other world that those portals might connect to.
I'm no expert on portals, but I'll keep that in mind.
If you don't mind me asking, I noticed that most of the youth in town seems to have left. What happened?
Yes. Well, see, here in Battledale, we're not named for being a warrior people. On the contrary, we're a peaceful people. It just happens that battles are always happening here. We sit at the center of the Dales, at the crossroads, if you will. And as a result, if armies are marching from A to B, then they usually go through our lands to get there. The youth have a adventurous streak, though. Here in Battledale, here in Assembra, we've got a long history of young people packing up not taking up good, sensible trades, but rather wandering the countryside with sword and shield and spell, trying to make a difference. And I admire them, I do. I admire their zest, I admire their courage. But it leaves us very short-handed. Always the youth leaving, and they don't come back until they've made their fortune. That's why we've got so many different races around here. It's a town of immigrants, and of emigrants as well. People coming and going all the time in Assembra.
Oh, I like doing the marathon.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's very, very wonderful.
All the different types of races.
I see.
He laughs. He found it funny.
Yeah, the guy, tips his hat politely.
So are we staying the night, or are we going to the Abbey?
I think we go to the Abbey here.
How long did it take for us to ride to Assembra? About 8 hours?
Yeah, the whole day. Yeah, whole day.
It's still almost another 10 miles out. I guess we are camping here then. Unless, okay, we could do this though. We could drop the army here, and the party can just take our backup horses that weren't carrying riders and push on the extra 10.
It'll be midnight before you get there if you do. 11 p.m. anyway.
Totally won't get ambushed by drow on the way, guys. Totally won't start with an exciting combat next week.
No, not at all. Hopefully we have our tank for this, but
I'm actually going to be heading out here shortly. I am feeling under the weather and probably shouldn't have even stayed up this late.
Yep, you've lasted a while.
I hope you feel better next week.
Yeah. Oh, me too. But yeah, it's good to see some new characters in here. This is going to be interesting.
yeah.
What do we learn about breaking and entering? Always check for traps. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
See you later.
So will we camp here? Camp, I was the wrong word. Or will we sleep in comfort here in this cosmopolitan city, or are we heading out in the middle of the night to go further?
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to head out in the middle of drow territory.
Yeah, if this abbey is known for great warriors and it's besieged, then we probably need our army.
Excellent. Excellent. And yeah, you get accommodation for your army. It's going to cost 5 silver for each warrior. So that'll be, I think, only 25 gold, 30 gold. It's not a major expense for people like us. And the next morning, we're able to march our army through the forest down towards the Abbey of the Sword. At times, you will see elven symbols carved onto the trees here and there. They appear to be quite fresh, fresh enough that you can see where the sap has weeped. And it's all dry; it's not that fresh, but like these aren't carvings a year old. There's still the markings of the tree's blood from where these elven symbols have been carved into them.
Can I read it? I do speak Elvish.
Yeah, you read it, and they're not really words, but they are ideas. You can make an insight check to decipher the hieroglyphs.
All right.
Could I also make a check?
Absolutely, you'll have advantage, Edwin, due to your racial predilection.
I also speak Elven.
Excellent. You can also make an insight check.
Also, it's one of the skills I'm decent at.
Cool. All right. So you confer between you, and while Raz is not sure and Edwin is confident, Nubble knows exactly what he's talking about. These are drow symbols. They are markers. The indication that they have is that these lands have been claimed by 2 separate groups of drow. One called House Morcaine, and the other are called the Ors Coven clan. House Morcaine are they're nobility from Mairamidra, that city that was destroyed within the Underdark, the 4,000-year-old city. So they are drow nobility. The Ors Coven clan are ferals. They live within the Underdark, but they are essentially barbarians, I suppose. Nomads. They're Underdark nomads that have no connection, at least not formally, to the other drow. They raid the other drow, and they have been doing it for thousands of years. It appears that they are damaging each other's symbols. House Morcaine will leave a symbol, and the Ors Coven will carve over it. Ors Coven leave a symbol, House Morcaine carves over it, and so on.
It's like the drow are fighting amongst each other.
So it seems. I suppose that's good for us.
Yeah, I remember seeing these symbols, but there's not normally more than one of them. Yeah, the drow are weird people. I don't know if I like them.
I don't really know much about them.
Did you know they can speak with their hands?
I did not know that.
Neither did I.
Yeah. I mean, while I was a slave, I was pretty bored.
So you learned their hand language?
I mean, some of it. You could say I'm proficient.
Could be useful. These symbols, what does it seem, which clan has the most recent carving?
That's a good question. Morcaine seems to have more evidence of their control than the Ors Covens. And it also seems that the House Morcaine have spent more time doing their carvings rather than some simple barbaric cave paintings, carvings. House Morcaine have gone to the trouble of doing artistic designs.
Can we look into like the history of their house, of what we know?
Yeah, absolutely. A history check is what you're after. Yeah, so there's not much to say about the Ors Covens other than they are raiders from the Underdark. They tend to stay in the Underdark. They worship Loth, the Spider Queen, and they're feral drow. House Morcaine, on the other hand, I think you've met some Morcaines. No, I'm sure that you've met some Morcaines. This guy, for example, was a Morcaine. Yep. The red cloak from the old Fort Inn was a Morcaine. This lady was also a Morcaine. So the Morcaines are one of the more remote drow families. They're Sizith, and Sizith means colony. Their Sizith exists hundreds of miles away from Mayra Midra, so they're rather independent. The latest word is that they're having a civil war, which is not surprising since all the drow are. But it goes something like this. Underneath Shadowdale is Sizith Morcaine, somewhere near Shadowdale. And the city is divided into two sectors. There's the outer city where the merchants and pretty much everyone else can come, and the inner city where only the Dark Elves are welcome. And that is divided by a bank vault style door, an impenetrable door about a man's head. The rumor is that that House Morcaine, that the Drow have locked themselves inside the inner city and they've let themselves be besieged, while the outer city is just going on chaotically as normal. The Loth worshippers have locked the door, thrown away the key, and are just going to sit here until the silence of Loth ends.
So House Morcaine sound like a real threat. They're the true believers.
Yeah, and yet they've locked themselves underneath the ground and they're not coming out. So it's curious that they would be doing the markings up here when apparently so far from home and locked in their bedroom.
Which they obviously aren't anymore.
Could it be someone impersonating them?
Possibly, but to what end?
Yeah, what's the point in pretending to be them?
true.
So could I use Druidcraft to heal like the scars on the trees? You can use it to like bloom like small plants and things.
That'll work, yeah. So you were able to erase the symbols, and the trees. Thank you for it. They're no longer bleeding.
Yeah, I mean I'm supposed to be elf friend, so I have to act like it.
And you
Yeah.
just removed their claim on the area, so.
Yeah.
I mean it doesn't belong to them anyway.
Yeah, it's like pissing on a bear's territory mark. Is there any evidence like that they have been here within like the past day?
No. The sap is dried, so probably not the past day.
Are these off to the side
Okay.
of the road?
Are there any off to the sides of the road? Yeah, if you want to like leave the road and go in deeper, then you will find more. Yeah.
Because I will use my primal awareness to speak with plants again. But this time I'll
Yeah,
ask
sure.
them if they've spotted humanoids walking. Like, I suppose, how long ago were you damaged or attacked? Would be the question.
Oh yeah, sure. Different trees have different answers, but yeah, a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 5 months. So 5 days to 5 months.
Guy, well, it's been 5 months for the oldest one and 5 days for the newest injury. That's what the trees tell me. Because I am the noble and I speak for the trees.
Well, regardless how long it's been, I think we should keep our eyes open while we're walking in this area.
The trees don't like drow.
So how close are we to the abbey right now?
You'll be able to make it there relatively quickly, but it's still maybe a couple of miles. So closer to the abbey than Assembra, but still a fair distance.
And was the news that they were under siege of the Drow, or that the Drow have already taken over?
The way you hear it, they're under siege from above and below. The Drow are raiding on the surface, but they've already taken the catacombs. Yeah, it would appear that the word siege might be exaggeration, might be an outright falsification. So it's probably more accurate to say that there are guerrilla attacks on the surface, but the catacombs have been seized.
Okay, so there's none of them like surrounding the abbey right now. They're just attacking in waves and then leaving.
If so, then they depart before you arrive, because when you get to the Abbey of the Sword, there's no sign of any Dark Elves anymore, apart from the territorial markings.
Any signs of life from within? Is it walls? Is it like castle-like? Or
That's right. It's a castle. It's a beautiful castle, although it's beginning to crumble, even though it's only quite young, only 20 years old. It looks like it's suffering from neglect. Broken windows, parapets that need cleaning, tattered flags. They're not structural problems. So crumbling is probably the wrong word. But the day-to-day maintenance is not being done. The garden is overrun. There are weeds everywhere. There are creeping vines that are beginning to crack open some of the windows. It just looks like a place completely neglected. And yet there are people here. They wear heavy armor, half plate in most cases, and they seem a little bit suspicious of your arrival. But unless you go up to them, they don't come out to challenge you. So.
Yeah, I was planning on conferring with them. I like how we have none of our like legitimate fighters with us right now. I don't think.
Yeah.
Wait, is Edwin a frontliner, or are we all basically the long range right now?
Well, I can beast shape into something.
Point.
That's about the extent of my frontline capabilities.
Okay, great.
And I have a dragon.
Yeah, I'm not particularly great at standing at the front either.
Yeah, none of us are CQC fighters. That's great.
I think Clint was the only one among us who was, and
Yeah.
Debbie too, but neither of them are here at the moment.
Yeah, I guess I at least will go up to the gate and tell them why we're here, that we were asked to aid.
Wonderful. And
Healing from Daggerdale.
you find yourself talking soon enough to a woman called Arlen Vesper, a knight dressed in full plate. She explains quite proudly that she is named for someone called Lady Arlen de Asherban, one of the most important heroes that Asherban Ford of Mistledale ever produced. She is sad, proud of her heritage, but sad at the story she has to tell you. I blame myself for the loss of the catacombs, she says. I am in charge here now. I am in charge now that Eldon Ambrose has perished. And I feel that there was so much that I could have done. We could have patrolled the catacombs better. We knew the presence of portals, and we thought that stone walls would be enough to stop them. How foolish, how short-sighted. I cannot bring myself to abandon the honored dead, however. I will not abandon Lady Arlen de Asherban, though I fear what they might have done to her corpse.
Dabbling about what you could have done in the past is useless. Once we take it back, you can put in those measures that you should have done before.
Yes, yes. That is what we shall do. Below the temple, below the Abbey of the Sword, are the catacombs. We have secured all areas up until that. Indeed, I currently have 10 soldiers holding the stairs. The Drow launch very infrequent incursions. However, the might of our steel has been enough to deter them and to keep them in place. Our attempts to send down warriors to solve the problem have all met with complete disaster, and I cannot spare any more of my soldiers to do just that. I'm begging you, if there is anything that we can do, any arrangement that we can come to. I know that you are mighty heroes. I understand and I've heard of your exploits throughout the Dales. If you have a price, then please name it. For if it is within our capability, we shall match your price.
I think we should confer amongst ourselves.
Of course, you must be hungry. We shall prepare you a meal, and you may discuss this in private. We will maintain our vigil while you rest.
One other thing, how are the attacks on the surface? Are they minuscule and they haven't even gotten close to breaching the walls, or is it as dire as it is in the catacombs?
They are intermittent, and we have managed to repel them each time. Open battlefields, even in darkness, are our forte. They have tested us a few times, and I believe that we have inflicted significant losses. Indeed, we have killed more of them than they have of us. And now I suspect that they have turned to easier pickings. Would that we could direct our attention to the homesteads and the farms and the merchants, but as you can see, our hands are tied. We must protect that which is sacred to us first.
I mean, they've taken to and vandalized the trees like edgy teens. I guess that's why they're doing that.
Oh, well, with all respect, edgy teens have their place too. Why, here in Battledale, edgy teens have a tendency to pick up the blade and axe and take the fight on headlong. I have nothing but respect for such emotionally challenged youth.
Those who would sit in the corner silently instead of joining the party.
Ah, yes, yes. There is no shortage of the sullen, brooding types, but they get together and meet at a tavern, and the rest becomes history.
Yeah, I tried brooding once. It was pretty boring.
I understand.
Y'all are having like a fourth wall breaking conversation over here. Well, lads, I guess we'll have to wait for more people to show up, but I think as payment they should support us in our cause against the Zentarum. But of course we have to address what's going on at their home before they can help us. Because
Yeah.
if what was it, 7,000 to 10,000 of the Zentarum, or just
Yeah,
waiting for
probably
the
more.
word to move? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we need the Dales, and they can put good word for us around all of Battledale, but we need to unite the Dales as history has showed us what we need to do to repel them.
Yep. Agreed.
Indeed.
All right. Have you considered what you might demand of us?
Um, support for our cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are attempting to push back the Zentarum from the Dales, and we need all the Dales united to do so. If you can both supply your own troops once we address this issue and put good word for us around Battledale, and maybe if you have allied Dales, we would really appreciate your support in our cause. We can't do it alone.
And this would be all that you would ask of us? To fight alongside you in battle?
Merely to fight for your home, yes.
I had suspected that you would want some payment, and we have no gold. I had suspected that you would want our magic. That which lies. Our honored dead have been buried with the treasures that they bore in life, that they earned as gifts from the gods or from their own exploits. Um, I was under the impression that you would be seeking a share of these artifacts.
Oh, I heard there's portals here.
I would forget the portals if I were you. All I am asking of you is that you clear out the drow, that you clear out the catacombs. There are portals in caverns beyond the catacombs. But that's how we lost Eldan. Eldan Ambrose was the high priest of this temple and had been for 20 years. I studied under Eldan, and he will always be an inspiration to me. Before the drow had claimed the catacombs, while they were still making incursions, he drove them out and followed them into the caverns below, into the portal-rich caverns. There he was confronted by a demon of terrible might. I suspect it might have been one of the princes of demons, the mighty Baelor, called also a Balrog in other lands. I have heard from people wiser than I who have spoken to Tempest personally in prayer. I have heard that this mighty Baelor guards these portals and will not allow other creatures to enter. That is, of course, to some benefit to us. That the shortage of demons and foreign travelers as a result of this Baelor, but any demon capable of driving off its rivals is too great a threat for that I could ask you to deal with.
I mean, I was just asking because like one of my friends might be trapped like past one of those portals.
She just shrugs her shoulders. You will not find the Baylor willing to negotiate.
Did anyone want to demand other things besides help?
But
Like they
Well,
said, magical items or whatever.
if you're willing to part with some of your treasure, and if that treasure may help us in our cause, then we would be interested.
I was gonna say if
Very
Ian was here,
well.
he'd definitely be wanting some magic items.
Yeah.
Well, then, what shall be the specifics of our arrangement? Perhaps you have. We have no catalogue, of course, of what might lie down below, but we may be able to hammer out an agreement.
What if we collect all of the magic items that we might find down there, and then once we've cleared the place out, bring them back up here? You review all the things that we've collected, and then decide how many things that we can keep.
Oh, well, they are rather generous terms if I shall be the one deciding. But fair, I will certainly not dishonor your actions, nor the memory of those who bore these items. Um, if you wish to do it that way, to retrieve all that you can and to bring it up for categorization, then we can split the proceedings. Um, Perhaps an arrangement of 50% would suffice. We might arbitrarily decide a value for each of these pieces of equipment, and you may take half.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, sounds fair to me.
I think that's
Wonderful,
fair.
wonderful.
This along with joining us as allies.
Yes, of course. Um, Provided that it will not leave our temple or the local people vulnerable. Um, we are attempting to negotiate with other sects within the Greater Temple of Tempest. Um, there are a band called the Hammer of Liberty, and thus far they have rejected our pleas for help, but perhaps we will be able to convince them to join us when the time comes. They are far more violent than we are. They disdain our house sitting, as they called it. Um, they see us more as stewards and chambermaids than as warriors. But we see them as little better than bandits, little better than brigands, violent people seeking to exploit dangerous situations.
Guess Noble's just gonna chuckle for a bit. It's like, well, I mean, if they describe you as like servants and they can't kill you, doesn't that just dishonor them more than it does you?
Oh, we are not at war. We have not shed each other's blood. We are, after all, worshipping the same God. It's just that our ideals are in tremendous conflict.
I mean, we get to do some fighting now, and fighting's pretty fun.
Then
Guys,
the Hammer of Liberty will appeal to you. All right. So yeah, the objective is pretty clear. She wants you to go down into the fortress. She wants you to find the catacombs. When you get to the catacombs, she will hold them. Her and her soldiers will hold the staircase. So if you need to retreat, then there will be a place for you to do so, and they will protect you with their lives. Just as you will give your lives for the dead, so will they give their lives to prevent you from joining the ranks of the dead. The one, I suppose, clause is that in exchange for 50% of the treasure, she doesn't actually want you to go into the portal-rich caverns below the catacombs. She wants you to deal with the dark elves, but not go and stir up the demon. She can hardly stop you if you're down there and you want to go and fight a Baylor. Then that's your business. But in her mind, all that's going to do is mean that any treasures that you might have recovered will be lost all over again.
I don't know about fighting a demon prince right now.
Yeah, I don't think we want to mess with those portals.
I think the best we could do is clear it out and have them seal it.
Yeah.
Maybe one at a higher level.
All right. So, I guess we might as well leave it there. But naturally, if there's anything else that you still do want to address, then by all means, we can do that.
I guess it's that time to say goodbye to the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good for now. Hopefully, our frontliners are going to be here next week.
All right.
So we do have like 50 frontliners.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, we can send down our cannon fodder, absolutely, and do this the first edition way, where you just hire hirelings to do all the work for the adventurers, but they get the XP.
So anyway, goodbye,
we
internet.
did.
Thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for listening. If you're listening in the far and distant future in a golden land without COVID, and thanks everyone. See you all again in a week's time.